Chapter 876. Jianqin and Newbies swallowed the water soul pearl and changed their presence to that of the sea race. Afterward, they left the artifact space together. Jianqin and Newbies erased their presences and carefully made their way to the doll tribe. At this moment, several tremendous presences appeared from behind. Gade, Yao Jun Yinfeng, and a few others caught up with them with lightning speed. They directly made their way to Jianqin and Newbies. Jianqin and Newbies immediately became nervous. It was impossible for them to escape from 6 Holy Emperor experts, especially when one of them was at the 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Stay calm. Don't give yourself away. Jianqin stopped and communicated with Newbies secretly. If they fled at a time like this, they would definitely raise the suspicions of the enemy. Gade, Yao Jun Yinfeng, and a few others arrived before Jianqin very soon. They studied Jianqin and Newbies and saw that they were only saint rulers, so they did not treat them with any importance. Seniors, may I ask what you need? Jianqin clasped his hands at them and asked politely, Did the two of you see a woman in azure, clothes fly by? Yao Jun Yinfeng looked at Jianqin and Newbies arrogantly and asked condescendingly. I didn't see him, Jianqin said seriously. A gleam of light flashed through Gade's eyes. He asked, I remember the two of you. Weren't you at the auction house? Why have you appeared here? Yao, Jun Yinfeng, and the others all looked at Jianqin and Newbies. Cold light flickered through their eyes as they became surprised and doubtful. Jianqin and Newbies' hearts sank slightly. They had never thought that the great Gade would actually remember 2 juniors that he had only met once. If they did not explain the matter clearly, it would raise suspicions. At a crucial moment like this, even the slightest misunderstanding could lead to death. Senior, soon after we left Gade City, we sensed many experts flying in the same direction. Driven by curiosity, we followed them to see what was going on, which is why we've appeared here. Jianqin made up a random excuse in hopes of getting away with it. With their strength as mere saint rulers, how can they participate in this matter? Yunfeng, let's go find Qing Yishuan quickly. We can't waste time here, a holy emperor at the 3rd heavenly layer said arrogantly. He was very disdainful of Jianqin and Newbies. Fair enough. The matter at hand is to find Qing Yishuan. Yao Jun Yinfeng nodded and flew off into the distance. The other 4 holy emperors who were fighting over the 8 wastelands followed closely behind Yao Jun Yinfeng. Although they were not on the same side, they all had the same goal. They planned on gathering everyone's strength to deal with Qing Yishuan. Qing Yishuan was just too powerful, and she had 2 other powerful helpers. If they came across her alone, they would struggle to deal with her. With Yao Jun Yinfeng's departure, Gade did not make things difficult for Jianqin and Newbies. He flew off in another direction. Jianqin and Newbies finally relaxed as they watched the figures fly off into the distance. Without any hesitation, they immediately flew off in the direction of the doll tribe. When Jianqin and Newbies returned to the doll tribe, the news that Qing Yishuan had taken away the 8 wastelands rapidly spread. It reached the entire region of the Serpent God Hall very quickly and caused quite a stir. Many experts of the Sea Realm and a few peak clans who coveted the map began to form groups to search for Qing Yishuan. The Holy Emperor Hao Jia dragged his heavily injured body back to the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Before he could return to his clan, he immediately made his way to the very center of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. A huge, majestic divine hall hovered in the air at the center of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. It radiated with a great pressure that filled the surroundings. The Holy Emperor Hao Jia entered the divine hall without any obstructions before being led to a majestic discussion hall by a guard. An old man in black robes sat high up in the discussion hall. The old man was short, only a meter tall, but his eyes were brimming with vigor. A boundless pressure radiated from his short body, enveloping the entire hall. The old man was one of the hall elders of the Heavens Spirit Hall. He was one of the people with the greatest status in the Heavens Spirit Hall aside from the Hall Master. The Holy Emperor Hao Jia immediately became respectful before the Hall Elder. He dared not to be arrogant at all. He clasped his hands at the Hall Elder. Hao Jia greets the esteemed Hall Elder. The Hall Elder stared at the Holy Emperor Hao Jia calmly and asked, "Why have you come looking for me?" "Esteemed Hall Elder, I have already successfully bought the incomplete map of the 8 wastelands, but one of the 8 human experts, Qing Yishuan, stole it from me along the way. Qing Yishuan is an outsider, yet she interferes with the matters of the sea race. She has gone too far and cannot be forgiven. I, Hao Jia, do not have the strength to deal with the human experts, so I hope the esteemed Hall Elder can help me, Hao Jia, and take back the incomplete map of the 8 wastelands that belongs to me." The Holy Emperor Hao Jia said angrily, "In the world of the Sea Tribe, the 3 great temples had a supreme status and were the supreme rulers of the sea region. At the same time, they had a strong sense of territory. If there were internal conflicts between clans, the 3 great temples would generally not intervene. However, if there were outsiders causing trouble in the sea region, the 3 great temples would definitely not stand idly by." The Hall Elder closed his eyes in thought and said, "Hao Jia, 5 of the 8 human experts have already pledged their loyalty to the 3 halls, while Qing Yishuan has pledged her loyalty to His Majesty Poseidon. If my Heaven's Spirit Hall moves against Qing Yishuan, it will definitely cause His Majesty Poseidon to stop us. It might even lead to conflict. Do you think my Heaven's Spirit Hall is willing to take that risk to deal with Qing Yishuan over such a small matter?" "What? Qing Yishuan has already pledged her loyalty to His Majesty Poseidon? Did she steal the 8 wastelands because of Poseidon's orders?" the Holy Emperor Hao Jia asked in surprise. The Hall Elder shook his head. "Don't look into the matter of the 8 wastelands. Now that all 8 fragments have appeared, 3 of them belong to the Hall of Poseidon, 3 to the Serpent God Hall, and 2 to our Heaven's Spirit Hall. I think we'll begin searching for the 8 wastelands' divine halls before long. 20 people can enter each fragment. Once we begin searching for the 8 wastelands' divine halls, my Heaven's Spirit Hall will personally come forward and discuss with the 2 clans that possess the 8 wastelands' divine halls. We'll get them to give up 20 spots and allow some people who have reached the peak of the 14th star in battle prowess to participate. We'll ensure that the strongest group can enter the divine halls and obtain the greatest benefits." The pale-faced Qing Yishuan currently sat in an underground room within the territory of the Hall of Poseidon. Her face was slightly black, having been poisoned. The venom of the golden-striped silver snake was just too powerful. With her great strength, she could only barely suppress the venom within her body. She was unable to force it out. Before Qing Yishuan sat a middle-aged man with a striking appearance. The middle-aged man had a resolute face that had weathered many hardships, and he naturally radiated with the dignified presence of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. "You're quite injured. Looks like there are quite a few experts fighting for the 8 wastelands, but it's all worth it. If you obtain that item, your strength will increase by a lot. Even if you come across the Holy Emperor of the 9th Heavenly Layer, you won't have to fear him." The middle-aged man smiled as unconcealable joy filled his face. Qing Yishuan sat there with a pale face. She said emotionlessly, "You're probably going to be disappointed. The 8 wastelands isn't with me." The middle-aged man was stunned. He immediately sat up straight and said in surprise, "What? The 8 wastelands isn't with you?" Qing Yishuan's bright eyes immediately became filled with heavy killing intent. She gritted her teeth and said, "Originally, I had already taken away the 8 wastelands, but in the final moment, 2 juniors ambushed me while I was heavily injured and stole the 8 wastelands." "Juniors? How strong are they?" The light in the middle-aged man's eyes flickered as he stared at Qing Yishuan closely. "They're not at the Holy Emperor's level." Qing Yishuan's voice was extremely cold. Qing Yishuan's voice was extremely cold. A powerful killing intent and fury radiated from her uncontrollably, causing the temperature in the room to plummet. In her mind, she couldn't help but recall the scene of her 8 desolation map fragment being snatched away, as well as her personal belongings being snatched away. This made her even more furious and murderous. Qing Yishuan, with your strength, 2 juniors who haven't even reached the level of the Holy Emperor have stolen something from you. The middle-aged man found this rather hard to believe. Qing Yishuan suddenly sat up and stared at the middle-aged man aggressively. She growled, "That's just how it is. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. I'm deeply poisoned. I need to return to the Divine Hall immediately to be detoxified, so I won't keep you company." Qing Yishuan angrily turned around and left in a hurry. "Qing Yishuan, according to our agreement, you haven't completed your mission, so I can't give it to you," the middle-aged man said emotionlessly. Qing Yishuan's body paused. Immediately, she disappeared from the secret chamber. She thought in her heart, "Once my injuries have healed, I will go and take back the 8 desolation map fragment. I will definitely not let those 2 brats off. I will definitely chase you to the ends of the world. I, Qing Yishuan, swear that I will not rest until I kill you." Qing Yishuan announced very soon after she left, "The 8 wastelands is not on me. It was stolen by 2 saint rulers, a human and a magical beast." As soon as she announced this, it caused an uproar. Qing Yishuan was one of the 8 great human experts famed in the sea realm. Yet 2 saint rulers had actually stolen something from her. Many people found this hard to believe. Even with that being the case, the people searching for the map fragment still paid attention to one thing. Aside from Qing Yishuan, they also searched for the saint rulers of the humans and magical beasts. Basically, whenever they came across a saint ruler, they would stop them and question them regardless of who they were. It made the humans and magical beasts grumble, but there was nothing they could do. Chapter 877. Looking at the pale white faces of the current patriarch and the 2 protector elders, the old patriarch asked with a heavy voice, "Are the 2 experts that the Dal tribe has invited really as powerful as you say? One of them has the ability to fend off the evil king, while the other can defeat the 3 of you working together?" Old patriarch, the 2 experts that the Dal tribe has invited can only be stronger than what we said. Now that they have such powerful reinforcements, what should we do? One of the protector elders asked with a heavy voice. His voice was rather weak, indicating that he was injured. The old patriarch furrowed his brows tightly. He was worried as well. The development of the situation had exceeded his expectations. At this moment, several powerful presences appeared in the distance, heading toward the Menghuang tribe. The sudden appearance of the powerful presences caused the expressions of the people at the top of the tower to change slightly, but that was soon replaced by joy. The current patriarch immediately cried out, "It's Sun has returned." Sun Er's name was Yen Senator. He was the great-grandson of the current patriarch of the Menghuang tribe. He was a cultivation prodigy that only appeared once in 1,000 years. His talent was extraordinary, reaching Saint Ruler in just over 400 years of cultivation, becoming an expert of an area. Afterward, he was favored by the Serpent God Hall and was chosen as an emissary. He even became the disciple of a protector elder. He was greatly valued and had a bright future ahead of him. The status of the entire Menghuang tribe had greatly increased because of him. Some people even predicted that Yen Sun would reach the level of Holy Emperor soon and become a renowned figure in the Sea Realm. Now, Yen Sun had already cultivated in the Serpent God Hall for over 300 years. His strength was even more terrifying than before. Other than the people of the Serpent God Hall, very few people in the outside world knew what level of cultivation Yen Sun had reached. The 4 experts of Menghuang's tribe immediately left the tower and personally went outside to receive him. They were extremely protective of Jensen, a genius junior who had a very high chance of reaching Saint King in the future. They were extremely concerned about him, for figures quickly flew toward the Menghuang tribe from afar. They were 4 youths who wore the same uniform. There was a serpent dragon embroidered on the left side of their chest. This was the symbol of the Poseidon Divine Hall, one of the 3 divine halls of the sea realm. Jensen, is that the tribe you were born in? Your seniors seem to have come out to greet you. I'm afraid that only you, Jensen, can enjoy such an honor. A young man with a fish scale mark on his forehead chuckled. His tone carried a hint of flattery. Isn't that obvious? Jansen is a genius of my Serpent God Hall. Even among all the emissaries, his strength ranks among the top. He'll definitely reach the 15th star in the future and gloriously become an elder of my Serpent God Hall. He might even become a hall elder that's only second to the great hall master. Another ordinary-looking young man with some patterns on his face also spoke. He did not hide his admiration for Jensen. Jensen was a young man who looked to be in his 20s. He was very handsome. Jensen could not help but show a sliver of pride when he heard the 2 of them praise him. He said, "You think too highly of me. The 15th star warrior Poseidon is an insurmountable hurdle. It's hard to say whether I'll be able to make it in the future. The position of elder is still an insurmountable distance away from me right now. Jensen, we have an important mission this time. We need to return as soon as possible and give the item to the hall elder. We can't stay in your tribe for too long. If something goes wrong, none of us will be able to bear the responsibility," the 4th young man said. The last young man of the 4 spoke. He was about 30 years old and had a strong back and a bare waist. His face was grim and his tone was unusually cold. Jensen frowned slightly and yelled, "Dehay, don't you know about the hall elder's orders? I, Jensen, am the captain of this group. You have to listen to me. Since when did you have the right to tell me what to do?" The young man called Dehay immediately fell silent. He silently followed the 3 of them without saying anything. Jensen arrived at the Menghuang tribe and was warmly welcomed by everyone in the tribe. However, he was invited to the tower by the old chief and the others very soon. Inside the tall tower, the old tribe leader told Yen's son about the threat that the Meng Desolate tribe was currently facing. "What, great-grandfather, you've been seriously injured? 2 guardian elders, you've also been injured? How dare someone bully my Meng Desolate tribe? Doesn't he know that I, Yen's son, am a member of the Meng Desolate tribe? Humph, no matter who he is, I, Yen's son, will not let him off easily." Jensen immediately became furious and slammed the table. As an emissary of the Divine Hall, he only feared the peak organizations that had the Holy Emperor. He did not care about the other second-rate or first-rate organizations at all. Fantastic! With the help of Sun and the 3 emissaries, the 2 experts that the Dal tribe has invited are no longer a threat. The current chief laughed heartily. For the Menghuang tribe, Jensen's sudden return was like sending charcoal in snowy weather. "Great-grandfather, guardian elders, just you wait. Sun will lead 3 of my companions to teach the 2 experts that the Dal tribe invited a lesson. We'll let them know the power of our Menghuang tribe," Jensen said righteously. Good. It is time for our Mengwild tribe to establish our prestige and warn the other tribes. Let them know how strong our Mengwild tribe is. Sun, wait. The 4 of us will go with you, the old tribe leader said. Afterward, the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe, Jensen, and the other 3 emissaries immediately left the tribe. They aggressively rushed toward the Dal tribe. At this moment, in the Dal tribe tens of thousands of kilometers away, Jianqin and newbies were discussing the matter of the Menghuang tribe with the chief. They were completely unaware that the Menghuang tribe had already rushed toward them with murderous intent. "Warriors, the Menghuang tribe probably won't dare to attack our Dal tribe for the time being. Why don't you 2 stay with us for a few days?" The chief of the Dal tribe was extremely courteous to Jianqin and newbies, worshipping them as if they were gods. "Chief, the 2 of us have other important matters to attend to. We can't stay here for too long. Since the Menghuang tribe isn't coming, how about this? Tomorrow morning, The two of us will accompany you to the Menghuang tribe and help you completely resolve the problem of the Menghuang tribe. Jianqin said he had come to the Sea Realm in order to earn more time to increase his strength. He did not want to waste too much time on these miscellaneous matters. Now that the problem of the monster core had been resolved and newbies still had not completely refined Old Snake's essence, all they needed was time. Jianqin would reach the third layer of the chaotic body and become the Holy Emperor, while newbies would become a Class 8 magical beast. The chief of the Dal tribe naturally felt extremely regretful that Jianqin wanted to leave in such a hurry. However, he also knew that his tiny tribe would not be able to keep the two of them, so he agreed. All right, since the two of you have other important matters to attend to, we'll go to the Menghuang tribe first thing in the morning to deal with them. Since the Menghuang tribe dares to target us, we definitely won't let them go so easily. If it's possible. The chief of the Dal tribe sank into his thoughts as the light in his eyes flickered. He was brimming with ambition. Jianqin knew that the chief of the Dal tribe wanted to use the two of them to devour the Menghuang tribe. He reminded him, "Chief, our mission is only to stop them for you and repel the Menghuang tribe so that they won't be able to pose a threat to your tribe. We can't do anything else for you." A space ring silently appeared in Jianqin's hand. He gently placed it before the chief of the Dal tribe and said, "Chief, there are 2,100,000 great-grade crystal coins in there. We're returning it to you. Please accept it." Jianqin had obtained the crystal coins from the black-robed old man he had killed to save Kea outside Gas City. Jianqin and newbies went to rest after discussing the matter with the chief of the Dal tribe. They planned to go to the Menghuang tribe the next morning. Although there was no night or day in the Sea Realm, they had a unique way of keeping track of time, ensuring that the time there was consistent with the outside world. After returning to his residence, Jianqin directly entered the artifact space to visit the white tiger. The white tiger had shrunk to the size of a cat and was sleeping in the divine hall created by the artifact spirit. A large pile of 1,000-year-old or even 10,000-year-old heavenly resources was placed nearby. During this time, Jianqin did not let the white tiger go out. Instead, he let it consume heavenly resources to increase its strength. After all, it was still far too weak right now. It was unable to deal with the dangers outside at all. At the same time, there are far more experts in the Sea Realm than on the Tian-Yuan continent. In 5 years, Xiao White Tiger has already reached the 5th cycle of Heaven Saint Master. That's equivalent to a minor increase in strength every year. With this speed, it'll probably reach Class 7 in another year. At that time, it'll even be able to flee from 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers. Jianqin murmured to himself as he stared at the white tiger. Afterward, he left the artifact space. The next morning, just as Jianqin and newbies were about to go to the Menghuang tribe with the chief of the Dal tribe, a few tremendous presences surged over from the distant horizon. "You've harmed the people of my Menghuang tribe. Get out here and die." A roar mixed with monstrous anger came from the horizon, like a thunderclap exploding in midair, reverberating continuously in the sky. On the horizon, 8 figures the size of ants were rapidly approaching. "It's the people of the Menghuang tribe," the chief of the Dal tribe murmured as he stared into the distance. "Humph, just as we wanted to go find them. They've come to us themselves." "That sure saves us a lot of time," Newbie sneered. He did not treat them with any importance at all. The experts of the Menghuang tribe are attacking. The people of the Menghuang tribe are attacking. All clansmen be alert. Protect the tribe with your lives. Live and die with the tribe. The peaceful Dal tribe immediately fell into chaos with that voice. Several thousand clansmen ran out of their houses. Their faces were either filled with determination, fear, or dread. The chief of the Dal tribe frowned slightly when he saw how chaotic the tribe had become. He growled, "Everyone, don't worry. Our tribe also has the assistance of 2 peak 14-star warriors. There's no need to fear the Menghuang tribe." Hearing the chief's words, The tribesmen who were panicking immediately remembered that their own tribe also had the help of experts, and immediately calmed down. The 8 saint rulers of the Menghuang tribe arrived in the air above the Dal tribe very soon. They surrounded the Dal tribe. Their powerful formation immediately caused the expressions of many people in the Dal tribe to change. There were a total of 8 saint rulers. This had far exceeded the expectations of everyone in the Dal tribe. Jensen proudly hovered in the air as he coldly stared at the people below like he was looking at ants. He haughtily said, "I am Jensen of the Menghuang tribe, an envoy of the serpent god Hall. Since the Dal tribe dares to harm the people of my tribe, I will represent the serpent god Hall to judge the Dal tribe today. Where are the chief of the Dal tribe and the other 2 culprits? Why don't you come and accept the judgment of the envoy? Jensen, he's Jensen, the genius of the Menghuang tribe. Jensen is an envoy of the divine Hall. He has a great status, yet he's actually come to our Dal tribe. We're done for now. A total of 4 envoys have come. Our Dal tribe no longer has any hope. Even if we have 2 14-star warriors, it won't change anything." Jensen's identity as an envoy of the divine Hall immediately frightened quite a few people of the Dal tribe. The clansmen, who had just recovered some confidence, became filled with despair again. They no longer dared to hold onto any hope. In their eyes, only death awaited those who opposed the envoys of the divine Hall. Chapter 878. Jensen. I never thought he'd actually return, and he's even brought 3 emissaries with him. The patriarch of the Dal tribe could not help but become stern when he saw the 4 emissaries hover in the air. The appearance of the emissaries gave him a lot of pressure. What dog's hit emissaries are you? How dare you act so recklessly before the great newbies? Are you tired of living? Newbies showed no fear at all. He shot into the sky with a tremendous presence, hovering 100 meters in the air with Jianqin as they faced off against Jensen and the others. Jensen stared at Jianqin and newbies coldly. He growled, "Was it the 2 of you who injured the 2 protector elders and patriarch of my Menghuang tribe? So what if we were? Kid, do you want to avenge them? However, you probably don't have that ability with your current strength." Newbies crossed his arms as he stared at Jensen with a sneer. His voice was filled with disdain. Jensen was a once-in-a-millennium cultivation prodigy of the Sea Realm. He had been spoiled by all the seniors of the Menghuang tribe since he was young, and he had even been chosen as an emissary after he grew up. He had even taken a Hall elder as his master. His status was something that few people could match, even in the Serpent God Hall. He was a supreme figure, and even some regular 15th star Poseidon warriors would have to treat him with respect. How could he endure newbies' disdainful tone with his status? It immediately angered him, and heavy killing intent filled his heart. "It doesn't matter which clan you're from. I will definitely kill you today and make you understand the consequences of offending me. The dignity of an emissary of the Serpent God Hall is not to be sullied." A trident appeared in Jensen's hand, and he stabbed it at newbies. Immediately, the surrounding water element rapidly condensed toward the trident. In the end, it condensed into a huge trident that stabbed at newbies with a tremendous presence. Newbies' figure flashed, turning into an afterimage as he flew into the distance, saying, "There are too many people here. I don't want to hurt the innocent. If you want to fight, come with me." Jensen's trident struck newbies' projection, causing the space there to shake violently. A powerful shockwave shot into the distance, obliterating a mountain over 10 kilometers away. Jensen took back his trident and immediately chased after newbies. The other 3 temple emissaries also followed closely behind. With a flash, Jianqin followed behind newbies. However, at this moment, the space behind him began to tremble violently. A silver-white spear, as thick as an arm, stabbed towards him from behind with lightning speed. The old chief of the Meng Desolate tribe made his move as well. He silently launched a sneak attack on Jianqin. A cold light flashed through Jianqin's eyes. Chaotic force filled his body in a single moment, pushing the power of the chaotic body to its limits. The silver-white spear stabbed into Genshin's back with tremendous energy. A faint, golden light immediately flickered on Genshin's body. In that crucial moment, the golden silk armor he wore blocked the attack. However, the old chief of the Meng Desolate tribe was at the 8th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. His attack was not something the golden silk armor could block. The defense of the golden silk armor collapsed, but the spear did not slow down at all. It viciously stabbed into Genshin's back. However, what happened next made the 4 experts widen their eyes. Disbelief filled their faces. The old chief's powerful attack did not pierce through Genshin's body like they had imagined. Instead, it came to a halt when it came in contact with Genshin's body, unable to advance any further. It was as if the spear had not struck a person, but extremely tough steel. How is this possible? His body is so tough. Is he a member of the Turtle Clan? The 4 experts of the Meng Desolate tribe all cried out. Not only was their opponent powerful, but his body was abnormally tough as well. This had completely exceeded their expectations, causing them to feel the pressure increase for a moment. This was because it was very difficult for them to pose a threat to such a tough opponent with their strength. People of the Meng Desolate tribe, don't blame me since you've taken the initiative to attack. Genshin's face was cold. He pulled out the dragon-slaying sword from his space ring and charged toward the 4 experts. He began to fight them in the air. 3 of the 4 experts of the Meng Desolate tribe were below the 5th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Only the old chief was at the 8th heavenly layer. Genshin's 2nd layer of the chaotic body could block attacks from 7th heavenly layer Saint Rulers. Coupled with the defense of the golden silk armor, it would not be easy for 8th heavenly layer Saint Rulers to injure him. On the other side, Newbies and Jansen fought 100 kilometers away. Jansen was an emissary of the Divine Hall, so his battle prowess was much greater than regular Saint Rulers. However, he was only at the 8th heavenly layer, so he was not Newbies' opponent at all. As soon as they clashed, Jansen was suppressed by Newbies. You want to judge the great Newbies with your strength? You're dreaming, Newbies said coldly. Newbies laughed aloud. He really did not like Jansen's haughty attitude, so he did not show him any respect at all. Newbies' hand was surrounded by surging saint force. He grabbed Jansen's trident with his left hand and slapped Jansen with his right. Jansen wanted to dodge, but the surrounding space suddenly froze, firmly trapping him there. Even though it was only for a split second, it was enough for Jansen to lose the time to dodge or block. Slap! A loud slap rang out. Jansen had taken the full brunt of Newbie's slap. The slap was very powerful, directly causing Jansen's handsome face to swell up. A few of his teeth were broken as well. Yasin became stunned after receiving the slap, as if he was unable to accept this result. He had always been protected and cared for by his seniors since he was young. Even when he entered the Serpent God Hall, he was nurtured as a genius. Many emissaries even treated him extremely politely, not daring to offend him at all. As a result, Jansen gradually developed a sense of pride. Now that Newbies had slapped Jansen across the face, he was completely stunned. He had never been humiliated like this before. The 3 emissaries became stunned when they saw Jansen receive the slap. Disbelief filled their eyes. Jansen was an emissary of the Serpent God Hall and the disciple of a Hall elder. He possessed a great status, yet someone had actually slapped him across the face without giving any face to the Serpent God Hall. The 3 of them found this unbelievable. This was because even the Holy Emperor of the Peak clans would not dare to treat an emissary like this in the territory of the Serpent God Hall. An emissary was equivalent to the representative of the Serpent God Hall. Slapping an emissary was equivalent to slapping the Serpent God Hall in disguise. Jansen returned to his senses very soon. He immediately became furious when he sensed the burning pain on his face. Anger surged into his head, almost making him lose his mind. Arg! I want to kill you! I want to kill you! Jansen roared out crazily. His eyes had already become bloodshot. As a prodigy, he was unable to endure such humiliation. He immediately swung his trident at Newbies like a madman. Newbies blocked Jansen's attack calmly and sneered. You want to kill me, the great Newbies, with just your strength? Dream on. With that, Newbies directly threw a punch at Jansen's chest, sending him flying while vomiting blood. His chest had caved in, and a few of his ribs had been broken. Jansen stabilized himself very soon. He pulled out a healing pill from his space ring and swallowed it before roaring at the 3 other emissaries. All of you attack together! The dignity of an emissary of the Divine Hall will not be sullied by anyone. The 3 other emissaries hesitated when they heard that. In the end, they all drew their weapons and began fighting Newbies. The 3 of them were not weak. 2 of them were at the 8th heavenly layer, while the burly, cold-faced emissary had already reached the 9th heavenly layer, the same level as Newbies. Jianqin and the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe engaged in an intense battle a few kilometers away from the Dal tribe. The intense battle attracted the attention of all the clansmen of the Dal tribe. They all paid close attention to the battle. It was very rare for the weaker clansmen to witness such a high-level battle. Just watching it would benefit them greatly. 3 of the 4 experts from the Menghuang tribe had yet to recover from their injuries. Only the old patriarch retained his full battle prowess. Even though they possessed an advantage in numbers, they were still not Jianqin's opponent. As soon as the battle began, they began to lose the upper hand. They were suppressed by Jianqin. Ding! Jianqin wielded the ruler armament, the dragon-slaying sword. He possessed the battle prowess of a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler. He knocked away the spear in the old patriarch's hand with a single strike before his arm suddenly trembled. He stabbed out 3 times in a single instance. Each strike was unbelievably fast, as if it could tear through space and break through the limits of distance. Before the 3 experts of the Menghuang tribe could react, the swords had mercilessly pierced through their chests, passing through their bodies. Bright red blood gushed from their bodies. When the dragon-slaying sword passed through their bodies, a tiny sliver of chaotic force remained within them, wildly destroying all their life force. Arg! The 3 experts of the Meng Desolate tribe all cried out miserably. The chaotic force rampaged through their bodies, bringing them unbearable pain. They immediately lost their ability to fight and fell to the ground. They immediately sat down and gathered all the energy in their bodies to eliminate the strand of chaotic force within them. The sliver of chaotic force was very small, but its power was unquestionable. They had not reached the 5th heavenly layer of saint rulers, so they could only barely suppress the chaotic force that was wreaking havoc in their bodies with their full strength. It was impossible for them to get rid of it in a short amount of time. An ear-piercing sound rang out from behind. The old patriarch swung the silver spear in his hand, creating an airtight blur that enveloped Jianqin. The sharp tip of the spear stabbed toward Jianqin's vitals with powerful pulses of energy. Jianqin sneered disdainfully. His sword was famed for its speed. Without a doubt, the old patriarch of the Menghuang tribe was seeking death by trying to compete in speed with him. This was because once one's speed reached a certain level, the body and arms would be subjected to a relatively large amount of pressure. Without a powerful body, it was impossible to increase one's speed. Jianqin's powerful body was fated to be the king of speed. Jianqin's right arm suddenly trembled. The dragon-slaying sword stabbed out with unbelievable speed under the control of his arm. In just a short moment, he stabbed out over 1,000 times. The blurs of the sword overlapped, blotting out the sky and completely enveloping the space before him. Ding! 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 The sword and spear shadows, which had almost turned into afterimages, constantly collided in midair, producing a series of dense, clanging sounds. The sounds had completely merged into one. Every time they collided, a strong force would erupt, shaking the surrounding space and causing it to constantly tremble. The ground below was even more affected by the aftershock of the force, and began to crack, forming a spiderweb-like crack. Chapter 879. Jianqin stood with his sword on his back. He hovered 100 meters in the air without using any power. Wild winds whistled as his white clothes swayed in the wind. His long hair danced in the wind, making him seem like an undefeatable war god. After the intense battle, Jianqin's clothes were completely unscathed apart from the hole the old patriarch of the Meng Huang clan had stabbed into his back with a sneak attack. On the other hand, the old patriarch of the Meng Desolate tribe was in a much more sorry state. His hair was disheveled, and his entire body was covered with countless sinister and terrifying sword wounds. The blood that flowed out dyed his clothes red, making him look even more like a person made of blood. It was extremely terrifying. He currently hovered 1,000 meters in the air as he gasped for breath. The 5-meter-long silver spear in his hand drooped powerlessly, as if he no longer had the strength to raise it again. The patriarch of the 8th heavenly layer had suffered a crushing defeat in his battle against Jianqin. Other than the sneak attack earlier, he had failed to even touch the corner of Jianqin's clothes. Instead, he had ended up in such a horrible state. "Thank you for your mercy, warrior. May I ask who you are and how I should address you?" The patriarch of the Meng Huang clan asked with a heavy voice. His voice was rather weak. He knew extremely well that Jianqin had countless opportunities to kill him in the situation before because his spear had been completely suppressed. In particular, Jianqin's attack speed had reached an unbelievable level. "I'm Yang Yutian," Jianqin nonchalantly replied emotionlessly. "Whatever. Since the Dal tribe has a powerful warrior like Yang Yutian behind them, we'll retreat right now. According to the rules of the Sea Realm, we can't launch any attacks against the Dal tribe for the next century," the patriarch of the Meng Huang tribe said in a depressed voice. Even though he was unwilling to accept this, there was nothing he could do. Although Yen Sun was the envoy of the Serpent God Hall, the 3 great halls would not interfere in the internal disputes of their territories. Yen Sen's existence could only bring honor and an increase in status to the Meng Desolate tribe. He would not use the Serpent God Hall to increase the tribe's strength. The battle on Jianqin's side had stopped, but the battle on Nubis' side continued. A total of 3 8th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers and 1 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Ruler fought rather intensely with Nubis. Booms constantly rang out as violent ripples of energy swept through the surroundings, causing the space there to tremble and the ground to crack. "4 brats, you're not weak, but your battle prowess is too weak. I, the great Nubis, can take on 10 people like you." Nubis spoke as he fought. Even though he was fighting 1 against 4, he still seemed to be at ease. Now, perhaps only the Holy Emperor could make Nubis feel pressured. "I'm not playing with you anymore, just in case someone says I'm wasting my time." Nubis laughed aloud. His attacks suddenly became more violent. He dodged their attacks and stabbed his hands into the chests of 2 of the envoys with lightning-like speed, piercing through their chests. Afterward, he kicked Jansen's head with lightning speed, causing his soul to shake and causing him to faint on the spot. In the blink of an eye, 3 of the 4 envoys had lost the ability to fight. The final 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Ruler, Deity, could not help but reveal a change in expression. However, he still did not choose to retreat. He swung his trident toward Nubis as hard as he could. Nubis extended a finger, and a golden thread shot out from the tip of his finger, binding the trident tightly. He kicked Big Black's chest viciously along the way. Nubis had basically used his full strength in the kick. Just the kick was enough to send Deity flying while vomiting blood. Deity's chest bones had been shattered by the kick, while his organs were heavily injured as well. They began to crack, causing him to bleed from all his orifices. The 4 envoys were all unable to climb back to their feet after being struck by Nubis. 1 of them had directly fainted while the other 3 were heavily injured. They were all pale. Nubis slowly descended from the sky. He stared at the three awakened emissaries and teased, "How is it? How does it feel to be beaten up, high and mighty emissaries? It must be very refreshing, right? Now tell me, who's judging who?" "Humph, you're an envoy of the Serpent God Hall. No matter who you are, you won't have much time left to live. The elders of the hall will avenge us. They'll definitely destroy your soul. You cannot afford to offend the envoys of the hall." The two envoys who had tried to curry favor with Jansen earlier glared at newbies furiously as they spoke through gritted teeth. Flames of fury burned in their eyes. As envoys of the hall, they were filled with a sense of superiority. They believed that they were already superior, so they would never allow anyone to treat them like that. It would definitely be a great humiliation to them. Newbies was infuriated. Cold light flickered through his eyes as chilling, killing intent appeared on his face. He sneered. "How bold of you to say that you'll destroy my soul." "Humph. Since that's the case, I'll let you taste the destruction of your soul first." "What arrogance! I doubt you have the courage to kill an envoy of the hall." One of the envoys scoffed at Newbie's threat. "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Killing intent surged in Newbies' eyes. 5 golden threads suddenly shot out from his fingers, shooting toward the foreheads of the 3 envoys as streaks of light. He wanted to wipe out their souls. At the same time, the surrounding space suddenly froze under Newbies' control, trapping the 3 of them where they were. They were unable to dodge at all. All they could do was watch helplessly as death drew closer and closer. Sensing Newbies' killing intent, the expression of the emissary who had provoked Newbies before finally changed. A sliver of fear filled his heart. He had never thought that there would actually be someone bold enough to kill an emissary of the Serpent God Hall in the territory of the Serpent God Hall. At that moment, the 3 envoys who were still conscious all began to panic. They were esteemed envoys of the hall with a bright future ahead of them. Breaking through to the 15th star was only a matter of time, so none of them wanted to die at a time like this. "Newbies, stop!" At this moment, a yell rang out from afar. Jianqin rapidly approached them. The golden thread stopped when it was a foot away from the forehead of the envoy. Newbies glanced at Jianqin, who was flying over from afar. After a moment of hesitation, he pulled back his hand and withdrew the golden thread. Jianqin arrived beside Newbies and said, "Newbies, spare their lives." "All right, since you've pleaded for them, I, the great Newbies, will spare their lives for now. However, they must leave behind their space rings," said Newbies. Jianqin did not turn down the request. They had just arrived in the Sea Realm, so what they lacked the most was currency. The 4 envoys should have quite a lot of crystal coins in their space rings, so there was no harm in collecting some more. If they came across something valuable again, they would not have to worry about currency. The expressions of the 3 envoys immediately changed when they heard that Newbies wanted them to leave behind their space rings. One of them immediately said, "No, you can't take our space rings." Newbies' face sank. He called out, "You can only choose between your space rings and your lives. If you want to live, leave behind your space rings. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." The 3 envoys hesitated for quite some time before coming to a compromise in the end. They removed their space rings reluctantly and handed them to Newbies. Afterward, Newbies arrived before the unconscious Jensen and removed his space ring as well. Seeing that Jensen's space ring had been taken away as well, the 3 envoys' faces immediately became extremely ugly. They all gritted their teeth and said nothing. "All right, you can go." Newbies waved his hand and said to the 3 of them rather impatiently. The 3 envoys endured their injuries and stood up from the ground. They carried the unconscious Jensen and left in a dejected manner. Newbies played around with the 4 space rings in his hand and said, with their identities as envoys, there should be quite a lot of crystal coins in there. "Let's go over first. We've already dealt with the matter of the Menghuang tribe. It's time for us to leave," Jianqin said before returning to the Dal tribe with Newbies. When they returned, they just happened to see the patriarch of the Dal tribe and the patriarch of the Menghuang tribe, signing a treaty that was similar to a blood oath. This treaty was the rule for the conflicts between the various organizations in the Sea Realm. "The four of you leave behind your space rings," Newbies said to the four experts of the Menghuang tribe arrogantly. The faces of the four experts of the Menghuang tribe changed when they heard that. The old patriarch swallowed his anger and said, "According to the rules, we only need to pay a portion of the crystal coins. Handing over our space rings is against the rules. You can't do that." "Cut the crap. Who cares about the rules? Hurry up and hand over your space rings," Newbies called out. He was actually trying to take advantage of the situation at a time like this. Chapter 880. The four experts of the Menghuang tribe reluctantly handed their space rings to Newbies before leaving with wounds all over their bodies. Jianqin did not take their lives. He withdrew the strand of chaotic force that was wreaking havoc in three of them, ignoring the fact that he did not have any irreconcilable grievances with the people of the Menghuang tribe. One of the clansmen of the Menghuang tribe was a member of the Serpent God Hall. Killing them would inevitably lead to some trouble. Jianqin obviously did not wish for something like that to happen, as he only wanted to seek refuge in the Sea Realm and gain more time to increase his strength. "Patriarch, since the matter of the Menghuang tribe has been dealt with, the two of us have basically completed our mission. We'll part ways here." Jianqin clasped his hands at the patriarch of the Dal tribe after the people of the Menghuang tribe had left. "My two brave warriors, you must be tired from the previous battle. Why don't you rest in our tribe for a few days? Let us, the Dal tribe, thank you for your kindness." The chief of the Dal tribe tried to persuade them to stay. Jianqin shook his head. "Thank you for your kindness, patriarch. We do indeed have important matters to attend to, so we can't waste any more time." Jianqin and Newbies immediately left after declining the patriarch's invitation. They had come to the Sea Realm to increase their strength, not to play. They could not waste too much time on these miscellaneous matters. The patriarch of the Dal tribe gently sighed inside as he watched Jianqin and Newbies leave. He murmured, "How great would it be if such powerful warriors could remain in our tribe? It's a pity that our tiny Dal tribe can't accommodate powerful warriors like them." The great elder of the Dal tribe walked up to the chief and said, "Chief, the two warriors have injured the four emissaries of the Divine Hall. Do you think the Divine Hall will blame them?" There was a trace of worry in the great elder's expression. The chief shook his head and said, "The fact that the emissaries of the Divine Temple have participated in the battle between the tribes is already a violation of the Divine Temple's commandments. The fact that the four emissaries of the Divine Temple are not punished by the Divine Temple after they return is already a very fortunate thing. Why would the Divine Temple hold the Dal tribe accountable for such a small matter? Our Dal tribe is equivalent to the people of the Serpent God Hall. The Divine Hall won't interfere with the conflicts between the people unless the situation is too big. That's why the Divine Hall will intervene. However, we won't help either side for no reason." Jianqin and Newbies flew 1,000 meters in the air. Newbies played around with the 8 space rings in his hand as he snickered from time to time. He constantly guessed how many crystal coins were stored in there. Along the way, Jianqin and Newbies came across quite a few groups of saint rulers. There were even holy emperor saint rulers searching everywhere. They were all searching for traces of the 8 wastelands. Any human or magical beast saint ruler that they came across would be stopped and questioned carefully. There were even a few holy emperor saint rulers who would forcefully search through their space rings. Jianqin and Newbies were stopped a few times as well. But since they both possessed the presence of the sea race, very few people would purposefully make things difficult for them. However, they did come across a group of saint rulers that was unreasonable once. They wanted to forcefully search through their space rings, which almost led to a battle. Jianqin and Newbies traveled for an entire day. In the end, they arrived at a desolate mountain range with very few people. They carved out a cave in the depths of the mountain range and settled down temporarily. They planned on cultivating there for the time being. Jianchen was not in a hurry to find the divine hall of the 8 wastelands. Right now, the entire sea realm was filled with experts searching for the 8 wastelands. If people learned that the 2 of them possessed the 8 wastelands, they would definitely become the target of everyone. At that time, it would be extremely difficult for them to keep the pieces of the 8 wastelands. Jianchen embedded a luminous pearl into the ceiling of the cave to provide some light in the pitch-black cave. Newbies crouched on the ground and began to count the items in the 8 space rings. It had to be mentioned that Newbies' harvest this time was extremely plentiful. The 8 space rings contained a large number of crystal coins and a few other miscellaneous items. Adding all the crystal coins in the 8 space rings together, it amounted to over 30 million crystal coins. The amount surprised Jianchen and Newbies. Other than that, there were some notes on cultivation and cultivation methods. There were even 2 heaven-tier battle skills. However, while these things were of some use to Heaven Saint Masters, they were completely useless to Jianchen and Newbies. Newbies casually tossed them to one side. At this moment, an extremely obscure pulse of energy appeared from the pile of items. Newbies' curiosity was immediately piqued. He dove into the pile of items he had poured out of his space ring and began rummaging through them. Very soon, Newbies pulled out an ordinary metal box that was around a foot long. He studied the box in his hand curiously and said, "The things inside must be extremely valuable." With that, Newbies slowly opened the box. The material of the box was extremely unique. It clearly had the effect of isolating pulses of energy. When the box was tightly shut, it was very difficult to sense any pulses of energy. But as soon as the box was opened, a tremendous pulse of energy immediately radiated out. This energy was majestic and powerful, as if it was an emperor that could command the world. With its appearance, the water elemental energy within a radius of dozens of miles quieted down, as if they had been frightened by something, or as if they had met their own king, all of them prostrating themselves on the ground and submitting to him. The disturbance is far too great. It'll definitely attract the attention of other experts. "Let's enter the artifact space," Jianchen called out. Before he could study the contents of the box, a golden light shot out from between his eyebrows and turned into a golden pagoda. Afterward, he and Newbies entered the artifact space together with the box. After the 2 of them left, a woman silently appeared in the empty cave. She was tall and wore a veil over her face, so it was impossible to make out her appearance. If Jianchen and Newbies saw her, they would definitely recognize her as the mysterious person who had given them the water spirit pearl. A light flickered through the woman's eyes. Her gaze was cold as she softly murmured, "I never thought that an emperor would venture into the depths of the sea of despair and obtain an abyssal crystal while I was slumbering. He used a secret technique to forge a key. Humph, do you think you can find me with this key?" Jianchen and Newbies suddenly appeared in the central hall of the artifact space. However, as soon as they appeared, a cool presence immediately radiated into the surroundings from the 2 of them. It filled the surroundings several dozen kilometers with dense water elemental energy. "Master, what's this?" The artifact spirit silently appeared beside Jianchen. The light in her eyes flickered as she studied the item in the box curiously. Jianchen and Newbies stared at the item in the box. At that moment, the box had been completely enveloped by a layer of blue light. Through the light, they could vaguely see a palm-sized key lying there. The powerful blue light came from the key. Jianchen carefully picked up the key from the box and studied it. The powerful blue light from the key illuminated Jianchen's entire face, dyeing him and Newbies in a deep blue. It seemed extremely demonic. "It's actually a key. Is it the key to some treasure?" Newbies guessed. Jianchen stared at the key in thought for a while before placing it back into the box. He slowly closed the box and said with a heavy voice, "This key must be something important to unlock something. It's definitely not simple. I just don't know if this key belongs to the emissary or to the Serpent God Hall. If it belongs to them, it'll be easy, but if it belongs to the Serpent God Hall, we'll probably be in trouble. Jianqin, it looks like we need to go to an even further place to cultivate in seclusion. Just in case the people of the Serpent God Hall come looking for us, Newbie suggested. Jianqin nodded. Artifact Spirit, I'll leave the box with you for now. Take good care of it for me. Yes, Master, the Artifact Spirit replied in a hurry. Afterwards, Jianqin and Newbies left the artifact space and reappeared in the cave. The two of them were no longer in the mood to remain there. They quickly stowed away a large pile of useful items in the cave into their space rings and immediately left, flying off into the distance. At the same time, Jansen and the other emissaries returned to the Serpent God Hall in dejection. They reported everything that had happened on the way to a Hall Elder. The Hall Elder was a burly man with bare arms. He had a ferocious look on his face and gave off a valiant presence. All the emissaries standing before him could not help but tremble. They felt fear from the depths of their souls. This was similar to the pressure of a bloodline. It was a phenomenon that would only occur when a lower life form faced a higher life form. What? You've actually lost something? The Hall Elder was infuriated when he heard that the four of them had lost their space rings. His gaze immediately sharpened, piercing through space like two sharp swords, causing it to tremble. The four emissaries all knelt on the ground as they trembled. Their faces were filled with fear. You four pieces of trash. Our Serpent God Hall sent the four of you out to bring the item back, just to fool others. Didn't those useless elders tell you just how important the item was to our Serpent God Hall before you left? You pieces of trash actually brought something so valuable out to stir up trouble, and you even lost it in the end. What's the point of keeping you pieces of trash around? The middle-aged man roared in exasperation. Towards the end, he directly swung his palm at the four emissaries. Charlie, calm down. An old voice rang out. Immediately, a blue barrier of light suddenly appeared, protecting the four emissaries. When the middle-aged man's palm strike collided with the blue light immediately shook violently. In the end, it was unable to withstand the heavy pressure and shattered. However, the remaining force of the middle-aged man's palm strike still mercilessly struck Jansen and the other three emissaries, causing them to spurt out a mouthful of blood. Their bodies were sent flying backwards like cannonballs. In the end, they fiercely hit the wall behind them. An old man with a walking stick walked in from the outside unhurriedly. The middle-aged man stared coldly at the old man and said in a low voice, "Look at your good disciple. He actually lost such an important item. You should know how important this item is to the palace master. If the palace master blames us, neither you nor I will be able to bear the responsibility." Chapter 881. The old man with the walking stick comforted Charlie, then turned to the four temple messengers and said, "Tell me the details of what happened." Esteemed Hall Elders, the situation is like this. We were hurrying back to the Divine Hall with the items and passed by Jensen's tribe along the way, so we stopped for a while. Jensen's tribe just happened to face a threat at that time. The three experts of the tribe were heavily injured, so Jensen took us to another tribe in an attempt to redeem ourselves. In the other tribe, the four of us were defeated by an extremely powerful person even when we worked together. He even took away all our space rings. That's right, esteemed Hall Elders. Not only did they take away our space rings, they even wanted to kill us. They don't take our Serpent God Hall seriously at all. They don't care about us at all. The two emissaries who liked to get on Jensen's good side spoke one after another. Their voices were filled with anger, as if the dignity of the Serpent God Hall was more important than anything else. The old man with the walking stick looked at the silent Big Black and asked calmly, "Big Black, is what they said true?" Blackie nodded and said, "Reporting to the Honorable Divine Hall Elder, what they said is true." "Then what are we waiting for? Send people to capture that person immediately. We must take back that item. Charlie immediately ordered. The old man nodded slightly. The existence of that item can't be leaked. Once the people of the Poseidon Hall and the Heavens Spirit Hall learn about it, it'll be troublesome. As a result, we can't send too many people this time to avoid drawing attention. We can't send too many people, and we can't be too powerful either. Dehay, what's the strength of the person who took away your space rings? Dehay thought about it and said, Esteemed Hall Elders, for my fight with him, his strength should be at the peak of the 14th star. However, his battle prowess is extremely great, comparable to some 15-star experts. If that's the case, we'll send 2 15-star elders to go with the 4 of you. It'll be easier to identify the 2 people, said the old man. Yes, esteemed temple elder, the 4 emissaries replied in unison. Remember, this is your only chance to redeem yourself. If you can get that item back, then everything will be fine. If you can't get that item back, then you'll have to suffer the palace master's wrath, Charlie said with a gloomy expression. Charlie's harsh words made the 4 emissaries tremble. A strong sense of fear and unease rose up from their hearts, invading their minds and causing them to tremble uncontrollably. At this moment, the 4 of them were filled with so much regret that their intestines turned green. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have acted like that in the first place. Very soon, the 4 of them left the Serpent God Hall with the 2 15-star elders. They directly flew in the direction of the Dal tribe. While Jianchen and the other 3 were rushing towards the Dal tribe, Jianchen and Nubes were not resting either. They were flying further away. Jianchen held a map in his hand. As he hurried along, he checked their current location against the landscape to make sure that they would not get lost. The 2 of them traveled several 100,000 kilometers before finally stopping above a desolate forest. Jianchen looked around and murmured, We're about 700,000 kilometers away from the Dal tribe. Now that we're 700,000 to 800,000 kilometers away from the Dal tribe, we should be safe. Let's choose this place for now. We'll return to the Tianyuan continent once we have enough strength, said Jianchen. Afterward, he descended with Jianchen and dug out a new cave to serve as a temporary dwelling. At the same time, Jensen and the other 4 emissaries of the Sacred Hall arrived at the Dal tribe with 2 ordinary-looking old men. The few of them hovered high above the Dal tribe and shouted, Where's the chief of the Dal tribe? Come out quickly. Hearing the shout, the chief of the Dal tribe immediately walked out of the hall. When he saw that it was Jensen and the other 3 emissaries, his expression immediately changed slightly. Then he noticed the 2 extremely ordinary-looking old men floating behind the 4 of them. His heart sank again. He already had a bad premonition. I am the Patriarch. May I ask what business you have with me? The Patriarch clasped his hands and spoke extremely politely. Where are the 2 of them? Where are they? Call them out. Jensen glared at the Patriarch and called out. With the support of 2 15-star experts, they became much more confident. Esteemed emissaries of the Divine Hall, the 2 powerful warriors have already left. They are not in our tribe, the Patriarch said modestly. What? They've left? The faces of Jansen and the other 3 emissaries immediately became unsightly. Where did they go? Where are they going? This time, the person who spoke was an old man standing at the back. The Patriarch extended a hand and pointed in the direction Jianchen and Nuanyuan had left. He said, The 2 warriors left in that direction. I don't know where they're going either. Many people in the tribe had seen the direction Jianchen and Nuanyuan had left. At this moment, the Patriarch could only tell the truth. He did not dare to fool the people of the Divine Hall. Chase them. The 4 emissaries and the 2 old men did not hesitate at all. They immediately pursued in the direction the Patriarch had pointed. At this moment, Jianchen and Nuanyuan had already entered seclusion in the mountains several 100,000 kilometers away. They did their best to increase their strength. 100 kilometers away from Jianchen, a white-robed young man with a rather sinister face carefully leapt through the forest. He erased his presence along the way as he quickly approached the cave Jianqin and Nuanyuan cultivated in. I must obtain the divine water of the world. No matter where you run to, you won't be able to escape from me, Xiaowang. The young man's eyes were filled with determination. He was the expert who wanted to steal the divine water from Jianqin, Xiaowang. Xiaowang had used some unknown method to locate Jianqin. He quickly approached the cave where Jianqin cultivated in seclusion. He completely concealed his presence and approached the cave silently. Using a special secret technique, he passed through the barrier outside the cave without alerting the owner. He successfully entered the cave and finally arrived at the cave where Jianqin cultivated in seclusion. At this moment, Jianqin sat cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed. He seemed to have entered a deep state of cultivation. It was as if he had not noticed that someone had invaded his cultivation dwelling. Xiaowang's heart had stopped beating. His body had also turned cold, perfectly blending with the surrounding temperature. It was as if he had become one with the world. Standing in front of the cave, Xiaowang calmly stared at Jianqin, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. He thought to himself, "You're the weakest here, so it'll be easier to deal with you. Once I injure you, I'll use you to threaten the other person to hand over the divine water of the world." With this thought in mind, Xiaowang quietly approached Jianqin. Then, with lightning speed, he directly grabbed at Jianqin's heart. Xiaowang's hand easily pierced through Jianqin's heart. However, his heart sank. He thought to himself, an afterimage. Xiaowang's reaction was also very fast. He suddenly turned around and saw Jianqin standing there calmly. He was looking at him with a mocking gaze. "Xiaowang, are you feeling uncomfortable from the beating last time? Are you asking for another beating?" A lazy voice came from outside the cave. Newbies, who lived in another cave, walked over with his arms crossed. He stood side by side with Jianqin. Xiaowang's face turned ugly. He said in shock, "Impossible. I entered this place silently with my innate ability. How did you discover me? You've been following us for a long time. I noticed you a long time ago. However, I have to say that your innate ability is really powerful. You can actually pass through the barrier we set up. If it was someone else, I'm afraid your sneak attack would have succeeded. Unfortunately, the person you met is me." Jianqin chuckled. "I, Xiaowang, am unlucky." Xiaowang gritted his teeth. Then he directly charged into the sky. He smashed through the rocks and rushed out of the cave. He wanted to escape. "You want to leave? Not so easy." Newbie sneered. He also copied Xiaowang and smashed through the rocks above his head. He rushed out of the cave and blocked Xiaowang's path. Xiaowang stared coldly at Newbies and said in a deep voice, "Although I can't beat you, if I want to leave, you can't stop me." "Is that so?" Newbies stared at Xiaowang with a mocking expression. He said, "You think you're the only one with innate ability, and I, the great Newbies, don't have it?" Xiaowang's face suddenly changed. He couldn't find anything to say. Jianqin also flew up from below. He said, "Xiaowang, you spent so much effort to follow us for hundreds of thousands of miles. Are you going to leave just like that? Don't you want your divine water of heaven and earth?" Xiaowang snorted coldly and said nothing. However, he was thinking of a way to escape. "I hope you're all alone. You want the divine water of heaven and earth to break through to the 15th star of the Poseidon. How about this? Follow us from now on, and I'll be responsible for your breakthrough." Jianqin gently smiled. A gleam of light flashed through Xiaowang's eyes when he heard that. He stared closely at Jianqin and said, "You want the divine water of heaven and earth as payment?" "That's right," Jianqin said. "You're willing to give me your divine water of heaven and earth?" "No, I won't give you the divine water of the world on me. However, I can promise you that I'll obtain more divine water in 50 years at most. You'll definitely get a share of it," Jianqin swore. The divine water of heaven and earth is produced once every 1,000 years. It's impossible to produce it again in 50 years. At the same time, the divine realm that produces the divine water is filled with danger. If you go in, you'll probably die, Xiaowang said with a deep voice. You don't need to worry about that. All you need to know is that I can give you the divine water of heaven and earth in 50 years at most, Jianqin said. Why should I believe you? You can only choose to believe me because this might be your only chance at obtaining the divine water of heaven and earth. Xia Wang fell silent. The light in his eyes flickered as if he was in an intense struggle. He did not have much time left. If he did not break through soon, he would only have around 100 years left. Chapter 882. But I, Xia Wang, will follow you. What do you want me to do? Xia Wang asked again. We'll talk about that in the future. We're going into seclusion for a period of time, so find a place to stay 10 kilometers away. Stop anyone else from approaching and protect the two of us, Jianqin said. Xia Wang nodded. All right, I'll do as you say. However, I hope you won't go back on your word. You have to give me the divine water of the world in 50 years at most. Xia Wang turned around and flew away. He opened up a cave 10 kilometers away and settled down. Jianqin, why did you get him to follow us? He's quite strong, but he doesn't seem to be of much help to us. And can you really obtain the divine water of the world in 50 years? Newbies asked in doubt after Xia Wang had left. He was very confused by Jianqin's actions. Jianqin raised his head slightly and stared at the deep blue sky in a daze. He said, We have a fragment of the map of the 8 wastelands, so I think we have the right to enter the divine hall of the 8 wastelands. At the same time, I've learned from the experts who fought over the map that only people below the Holy Emperor can enter the divine hall of the 8 wastelands. Xia Wang is a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler, so his battle prowess is not weak either. There are very few people who can match him at the same level of cultivation. If we enter the divine hall of the 8 wastelands in the future, he'll be of great help to us. What? Only people below the Holy Emperor can enter the divine hall of the 8 wastelands? Doesn't that mean we can't break through? Newbies was surprised. That's right. Before we enter the shrine of the 8 wastelands, we can't break through to the Holy Emperor realm. Therefore, during this period of seclusion, you must restrain your growth. Whatever. If I can't break through, then so be it. However, I can still absorb another layer of the old snake's essence, so I'm half a step away from the Holy Emperor's level. It'll be much easier for me to break through in the future. All right, I'm going back to cultivate. After saying that, newbies returned to the cave. Before long, Jianqin returned to the cave to continue cultivating. With the assistance of the sword spirits, he began to refine the monster cores he had taken out from the artifact space. Right now, his chaotic Niden was only the size of a pigeon's egg. There was still a very long way to go before he could reach the 3rd layer. What he needed to do right now was reach the peak of the 2nd layer as soon as possible. Master, once your chaotic body reaches the 5th layer, you should be able to directly absorb the energy from the Yinyang Saint Rock, Ziying's voice rang out. There was a sliver of eagerness in her voice. Ziying, if I absorb all the energy from the rock, what layer will my chaotic body reach? Jianqin asked curiously. If you absorb all the energy from the rock, Master's chaotic body should reach the 7th, 8th, or even 9th layer, Qing Sua pondered. He was rather uncertain. Jianqin's heart immediately began to thump uncontrollably when he heard that. A great eagerness rose up in him, tempting him to reach the 9th layer right now. I wonder what level of cultivation I'll reach once I absorb all the energy from the rock. Will I reach the Holy Emperor realm, or will I surpass the Holy Emperor? If I can surpass the Holy Emperor, I'll definitely learn from Senior Mo Tianyan and invade the world of Forsaken Saints all by myself. I'll turn the world upside down and turn their blood into rivers so that they no longer have the power to threaten the Tianyuan continent. Jianqin clenched his fists tightly as he thought to himself. Several days later, a huge divine hall hovered 100 meters in the air, several 100,000 kilometers away. It radiated with a tremendous presence. At this moment, a furious roar rang out from a majestic hall within the divine hall. "Trash! You're all trash! You're all trash! You can't even find the two of them!" The burly hall elder, Charlie, roared out furiously. Jensen and the other 3 emissaries knelt before Charlie as they trembled. Their faces were filled with fear. They had searched outside for several days, but they had failed to find Jianqin and Heiyu. With no other choice, they could only return and report the matter to the hall elder. "If you can't take it back, just wait for your deaths once the hall master emerges from seclusion." "Humph, you pieces of trash. Why did I send you on this mission in the first place? You've all messed up something so simple." Charlie was furious. He paced around the hall as he became extremely worried. "Charlie, that item has its own unique aura. Furthermore, the item that was snatched away was created by an emperor 30,000 years ago. It contains a trace of the emperor's power. The emperor's power is equal to the power of the sacred hall. How about this? The 2 of us will work together to perform the water mirror technique and borrow a trace of the sacred hall's power. Let's see if we can find the whereabouts of that item," Jansen's master said. "All right, that's all we can do now. We'll use a sliver of the divine hall's power. I hope the hall master won't blame us." Charlie nodded before saying to the other 4, "Why don't you all leave?" The 4 emissaries stood up in a panic before leaving the hall. Around half an hour later, 2 hall elders emerged from the hall. They were rather exhausted. Jensen's master held a scroll in his hand and said, "We've found their whereabouts. Their location is marked on this map. Immediately go with the 2 15-star elders and retrieve the item to make up for your crimes." "Master, we will definitely take it back this time," Jensen swore as he accepted the scroll. Afterward, the 4 of them left together. Charlie said with a heavy voice as he stared in the direction that the 4 of them had left, "I hope they can bring it back successfully this time. Sai, that item is just too special. We can't let any news about it leak, nor can we raise the attention of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the Poseidon Hall. As a result, we can't send too many people, or I would have done it myself long ago," Jensen's master gently sighed. Several days later, Diablo lay on the ground in boredom in a primitive forest 1,000,000 kilometers away from the Serpent God Hall. He stared blankly at the gloomy ceiling as he carried out his duty silently. He watched over Jianqin and newbies, preventing them from being disturbed by external factors. Can he really give me the divine water of the world in 50 years? Diablo placed his hands behind his head as he lay on the icy ground and murmured softly. He had already lost count of how many times he had said the same thing today. To think that I, Diablo, am renowned in the sea realm. I've always been a loner without any restraints, only doing what I want to do. I never thought that I'd end up like this and become someone else's lackey. Whatever. This is my only hope of breaking through to the 15th star. If I lose even this sliver of hope, I won't have any chance at breaking through to the 15th star. I'll just trust them for now. It's fine, even if I have to suffer a little for now, Diablo mumbled to himself. Xia Wang muttered to himself. With his personality, it was really difficult for him to submit to others. He could only continuously comfort himself in order to calm down the unhappiness in his heart. At this moment, Diablo's eyes narrowed. Oh no, someone's coming. The evil king's figure disappeared in a flash. He had already left the cave. When he reappeared, he was already floating in the air 1,000 meters away. In the distance, 6 figures were flying over at lightning speed. In the end, they stopped when they were 328 feet away from Evil King, and all of them stared at Evil King with fierce gazes. You're the emissaries of the Serpent God Hall. Diablo's face changed slightly when he saw the clothes the 6 of them wore. Jansen stared at the Evil King for a while, but didn't pay much attention to him. He looked around and said, "From the markings on the map Master gave me, they should be here, but it's not this person." The two old men beside Jensen looked in the same direction at the same time. One of them said, "There are two people cultivating in seclusion. I just don't know if it's them." "That's easy. Just get the two of them to appear. We'll know if they're the people we're looking for as soon as we see them," said the other old man. Afterward, he grabbed at the air, and the energy in the surroundings rapidly condensed. In the end, it formed a huge hand that was 100 meters wide. It slammed down on the mountain where Jianchen and newbies were cultivating. Boom! The mountain exploded loudly. It was reduced to countless pieces of rock that shot out in all directions from the palm strike. The barrier newbies had cast down, personally shattered, like tofu as well. It was unable to stop the attack at all. 15th star warrior Poseidon. Diablo's face immediately became ugly when he saw this. The light in his eyes flickered with uncertainty. Who dares to destroy the cultivation dwelling of the great newbies? Are you looking to die? A furious roar rang out from the mountain. Newbies angrily flew out from the rubble. Cold light flickered in his eyes as he radiated with powerful killing intent. The eyes of Jensen and the other 3 emissaries lit up when they heard the familiar, arrogant voice. They all pointed at newbies and said loudly, "It's him, it's him. Elders, he's the one who stole that item." A sliver of joy flashed through the eyes of the 2 old men when they heard that. They thought, he really isn't at the 15th star. Looks like completing the Hall Elder's mission will be easy. Boom! Rubble flew everywhere as the white-robed Jianchen flew out from the rubble with his dragon-slaying sword. He flew with newbies toward Jensen and the others with a sunken face. They faced each other from 100 meters away. Newbies studied the people before him with a sharp gaze. In the end, his gaze landed on the 2 old men, and he could not help but become rather stern. He said with a deep voice, "I never thought that 2 15th-star experts would come." Genshin's face could not help but change when he heard that there were actually 2 Holy Emperor experts. With his current strength, he could only deal with 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers. He would not be the opponent of Holy Emperor experts at all. Jensen could not help but laugh aloud when he saw how stern the 2 of them were. "Haha, you must be regretting it now. This is the fate of offending the emissaries of the Divine Hall, but it's all too late now. It's useless even if you regret it. Just wait for your death obediently." Chapter 883. Jianchen could not help but laugh aloud when he saw how stern the 2 of them were. "Haha, you must be regretting it now. This is what happens when you offend the emissaries of the Divine Hall. But it's too late now. It's useless even if you regret it. Just obediently await your deaths." Newbie sneered. "Do you think you can deal with us just by calling 2 15th-star Poseidon warriors?" As he said that, a tremendous presence radiated from newbies, enveloping the surrounding mountains. The presence had vaguely surpassed the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler, reaching an even higher level. The presence actually possessed some boundless might. Newbies was brimming with battle intent. He showed no fear at all, as if the 2 Holy Emperor-level experts were not undefeatable to him. Xie Wang shivered inside when he sensed the surging presence from newbies. He thought, no wonder his battle prowess is so great. So he's only 1 step away from reaching the 15th star and becoming a renowned expert of the Sea Realm. The expressions of the 4 emissaries changed slightly. They could obviously sense that even if Newbies was not a 15-star expert, he was not far from it. His strength was not something they could contend against. However, when their gazes landed on the 2 old men beside them, they immediately relaxed. The 2 old men were elders of the Serpent God Hall, true 15th-star experts. As long as the 2 of them were present, the 3 people before them would not be able to do anything at all. You've already reached the peak of the 14th star. You're only a step away from the 15th star. Not bad, not bad. If you have some more time, it won't be difficult for you to reach the 15th star. The two of us are elders of the Serpent God Hall. May I ask if you're interested in joining the Serpent God Hall? If you're willing, I'll report this matter to the Hall elders once I return. I think the Hall elders will definitely welcome you very much, Elder CD said with a smile. He came from the Serpent God Hall, so he knew many secret techniques that the Holy Emperor could not compare to. With the assistance of the secret techniques, he could vaguely sense a sliver of extremely pure rulers' presence from Jianqin and Nubis. He guessed that the two of them were rulers of some clan and possessed extremely great talent. They would definitely reach the peak of the 16th star in the future. Experts like that were only a step away from becoming emperors. Even the 3 divine halls would do everything they could to rope them in. You haven't come all this way to find us for this matter, right? Jianqin asked emotionlessly. The other old man added, That's right. We haven't come all this way to find you for this matter. But if you're willing to join our Serpent God Hall, we'll be family in the future. Yen's son immediately panicked when he heard that CD and the elder wanted the 2 people he hated to join the Serpent God Hall at the same time. He said, Elders, the 2 of them we know what we're doing. There's no need for you to say anything more. Before Yen's son could finish, the elder stopped him. He stared at Jianqin and Nubis closely. If you want us to join your Serpent God Hall, you'll probably be disappointed, Jianqin replied. You're not willing. The elder's face sank slightly. That's right. Jianqin stared straight at the elder without any fear. Seeing that, Elder CD said, Forget it. Since you're not willing to join our Serpent God Hall, we won't force you. You took a few space rings from the 4 emissaries a few days ago, so I hope you can return them to us. We won't make things difficult for you. Although Elder CD said that, a sliver of extremely well-hidden killing intent flashed through the depths of her eyes. She thought, the Hall elders have warned me that this item must be kept a secret. I can't let anyone know about it aside from the Serpent God Hall. Since you're not joining our Serpent God Hall, we need to eliminate you even if you possess the ruler's aura. Since you want the 4 space rings, I'll return them to you. Nubis tossed the 4 space rings to the 2 elders without any hesitation. The 2 elders secretly rejoiced when they saw how Jianqin and Nubis handed over the space rings so readily. They each caught 2 space rings and began to check them. At this moment, Jianqin and Nubis seemed to have already discussed this. They suddenly attacked the 2 elders who were checking the space rings. Nubis' hands had already become completely golden. He unleashed all of his strength without holding back at all, grabbing towards the neck of one of the elders with lightning-like speed. Jianqin wielded his ruler's weapon, the dragon-slaying sword. It was enveloped by a layer of dark light, radiating with a destructive presence. He stabbed towards the other elder with lightning-like speed. Jianqin had stabbed out with his full strength, so his speed had reached its peak. It was unbelievably fast. The strike seemed to slice through space, crossing the distance between them. It arrived before the elder's forehead in just a single moment. The 2 elders had never thought that Jianqin and Nubis would actually be bold enough to attack a noble elder in the territory of a Serpent God Hall. Coupled with the fact that most of their attention had been focused on the space rings when they were checking them, they were directly struck by the 2 of them while they were completely unprepared. Nubis grabbed at Elder CD's throat mercilessly, ripping through his throat and tearing off a large piece of skin, revealing his broken throat and some meridians. At the same time, a sliver of poison entered Elder CD's body through Nubis' hand, immediately causing the wound on his neck to emit an unpleasant stench. Jianqin's dragon-slaying sword stabbed into the elder's forehead with great precision. Just when the sword was about to harm his soul, the elder grabbed the sword tightly with his shriveled hands, preventing it from going any deeper. Afterwards, he bellowed out and exerted force with his hands, forcefully pulling the sword out of his forehead. How dare you launch a sneak attack? I won't let you off. The elder bellowed out furiously. His voice was filled with both pain and fury. Although the sword had missed his soul by a sliver of powerful and strange power had remained in his head. It was currently rampaging through his brain, causing him excruciating pain. The elder immediately used his powerful soul to suppress the sliver of chaotic force Genshin had left in his head. He struck out with his hand with lightning speed, striking towards Genshin's chest. Genshin used the illusory flash and vanished from the elder's vision as a blur. When he reappeared, he was already behind the elder. He stabbed out 3 times with the dragon-slaying sword as a blur. A tremendous amount of energy surged out from the elder's body, forming an extremely tough armor around him to block Genshin's lightning-fast sword. The dragon-slaying sword was imbued with destructive chaos force as it stabbed into the Rain's elder's armor. The first strike caused a crack to appear on the Rain's elder's armor. The second sword strike shattered the horse Rain elder's armor. The third strike pierced through the elder's body like a hot knife through butter. The sharp tip of the sword that was covered in blood emerged from his chest. At the same time, surging chaotic force surged out of the dragon-slaying sword, exploding within the elder's body. Arg! The elder produced a chilling cry. A bull-sized hole had appeared in his chest from the chaotic force that had gone out of control. His organs had all been blown to pieces. Genshin did not hesitate at all. He knew that he could not give the elder any time to catch his breath. With a violent jerk of his arm, the dragon-slaying sword stabbed out again as a black streak of light. This time, it was aimed at the back of the elder's head. He wanted to heavily injure his soul. "I will make you die a horrible death." The elder howled crazily. The surrounding space suddenly froze, trapping Genshin and his sword. Genshin's heart sank as he cursed. Without pausing at all, chaotic force immediately surged out of his body, shattering the frozen space. However, just when he broke out of the frozen space, a hand arrived with lightning-like speed, striking Genshin's chest viciously. Spurt! The golden silk armor was instantly broken through. Genshin spat out a mouthful of blood as he was blown far away like a meteor. "I will tear you to pieces." The muscles on the Rain's elder's face were extremely twisted. Blood flowed out from between his eyebrows and dyed his entire face red. In addition to the bull-sized hole in his chest, he looked like a demon from hell, ferocious and terrifying. The elder fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to catch up to Genshin in a single moment. His hands landed on Genshin mercilessly. Genshin vomited a few mouthfuls of blood. His chaotic body had cracked from the heavy strikes, so he was heavily injured. On the other side, Newbies had managed to heavily injure Elder CD with a sneak attack. Just when he was about to follow up with another attack, he suddenly saw that Genshin was in trouble. He immediately abandoned Elder CD and charged towards the Elder. The two of them engaged in a great battle once again, becoming locked in a stalemate in the air. A powerful killing intent appeared nearby. Elder CD charged toward Newbies with surging killing intent as blood dripped from his throat. Although he was heavily injured, he was still a Saint King after all. His vitality was tenacious, so he still retained some battle prowess. "I'll stop them. Leave immediately." Newbies yelled at Genshin as he fought against the two holy emperors all by himself. Although the two holy emperors were heavily injured, Newbies found it extremely difficult to stop them all by himself. He had already unleashed all his strength without holding back at all. All he lacked was his original form. Although CD and Mahdi were only at the first heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, they were definitely outstanding since they could become elders of the Divine Hall. Their battle prowess was even greater than regular Holy Emperors. The two of them were only at the first heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, but their true strength was close to the second heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. The light in Genshin's eyes flickered. After hesitating slightly, he gave up on the idea of using God's descent to kill the two elders. He immediately fled into the distance. The price of using God's descent was just too great. Even if he could kill the two elders, there would be even more powerful elders coming for them. Killing the two of them would not solve the problem at all. The item might be on him. We can't let him escape. The 4 emissaries finally returned to their senses. They all caught up to Jianqin and engaged in a great battle with Jianqin. Chapter 884. The light in Xia Wang's eyes flickered with uncertainty as he watched Jianqin engage in a bitter battle nearby. He was filled with hesitation. They're the emissaries and elders of the Serpent God Hall. Heavens! How have they offended the people of the Serpent God Hall? What should I do? What should I do? Should I take part in this matter? Should I help them? Xia Wang thought. He found it rather difficult to make a decision. After a while, Xia Wang finally clenched his teeth and thought, whatever. I only have around 100 years to live anyway. For the divine water of the world, for the sake of successfully reaching the 15th star, I'll do it. Xia Wang finally made up his mind with that thought. He immediately charged toward the 4 emissaries, blocking 2 for Jianqin. Evil King, how dare you offend my Serpent God Hall? Are you tired of living? An envoy of the Divine Hall called out sternly, I've gone too far this time. I've offended the people of the Serpent God Hall. They'll definitely hunt me down in the future, so I won't be able to set foot in the Serpent God Hall again. I've helped you so much, so you must give me the divine water of the world within 50 years. Otherwise, I swear that I won't rest until you're dead, Xia Wang said to Jianqin as he fended off the attacks of the 2 emissaries. Don't worry, I won't go back on my word. I'll definitely give you the divine water of the world within 50 years, Jianqin replied. With Xia Wang blocking the attacks of the 2 emissaries for him, the pressure on Jianqin immediately decreased drastically. He immediately struck out as hard as he could. The Dragon Slayer, sword in his hand, constantly stabbed at the 2 emissaries with a destructive presence. Even though Jianqin was quite injured, dealing with the 2 emissaries who were at the 8th heavenly layer was nothing difficult for him. The Dragon Slayer sword turned into blurs that filled the sky and enveloped the 2 emissaries. The overlapping blurs completely obscured the surrounding space. The 2 emissaries became extremely stern. They quickly swung their weapons to block Jianqin's attacks as hard as they could. The dense sounds of weapons clashing constantly rang out. The Dragon Slayer sword clashed with the weapons of the 2 emissaries in the air, producing a series of deafening clangs. Jianqin's sword was just too fast, and his ruler armament was extremely powerful. Every strike possessed great power, so the 2 emissaries only lasted for a few seconds before they became covered in wounds. One of them had his heart pierced by Jianqin, while the other had his entire right arm chopped off by Jianqin. They produced chilling cries as they lost the ability to continue fighting. After repelling the 2 emissaries, Jianqin immediately went to assist Xia Wang. They worked together to heavily injure the last 2 emissaries before pulling Xia Wang away and disappearing from sight very soon. Newbies was already injured. He was covered in blood, but this did not weaken his battle prowess at all. Instead, it aroused the viciousness of his bloodline. He became more and more valiant as he fought, keeping the 2 Holy Emperor busy all by himself. At the same time, he used his own poison on the 2 Holy Emperor, forcing them to use a portion of their strength to suppress the poison. As a result, their strength was greatly reduced. What shitty elders! Is that all you're capable of? Once I break through in the future, killing you will be as easy as flipping my hand. I'm not playing with you anymore. Nubi spat out a poisonous mist that enveloped the 2 Holy Emperor. He quickly left, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. We can't let them get away. Let's chase after them. Jensen ignored his injuries and chased after them. Stop chasing. Elder Ma Yen stopped Jensen with a wave of his hand. He stared in the direction Newbies and Xia Wang had fled in and said with a heavy voice, Sidi and I are poisoned right now. The poison is extremely powerful, so we need to get rid of it as soon as possible. Otherwise, our lives will be in danger. The item is on them. We can't let them get away. The antidotes we have on us are unable to get rid of this poison. It's already too late for us to return to the Divine Hall. We need to find a place to suppress the spread of the poison and report this to the Hall elders, CD said with a heavy voice. CD said in a deep voice, if they did not suppress the poison that was spreading in their bodies, they would soon die from the poison. There are two types of elders in the Serpent God Hall. One was the ordinary elders, while the other was the Hall elders. Ordinary elders only needed to reach the 15th star to take up the post, but Hall elders needed to reach the peak of the 16th star to take up the post. Among the three divine halls, Hall elders were only second to the Hall masters in status and authority. They were the most powerful people below the Hall masters. Elder Mayen and Sidi were only ordinary elders of the Serpent God Hall. The two elders and the four emissaries were quite injured. In particular, Elder Mayen and Elder Sidi's injuries were extremely severe. They needed to heal as soon as possible, or their lives would be in danger. As a result, they did not continue to chase after Genshin's group of three. Instead, they found a place nearby to heal and suppress the poison within them. At the same time, they reported this to the Serpent God Hall. The Serpent God Hall learned of the situation very soon. The Hall elder, Charlie, flew into a rage and immediately sent two more powerful elders with two antidotes to the location of the incident to save Sidi and Mayen. At the same time, they were tasked with the mission of retrieving the item. Although the two of them were still at the 15th star, they were equivalent to the Holy Emperor at the third heavenly layer according to the standards of the Tian Yuan continent. Jian Qin and Xia Wang quickly fled into the distance. At this moment, he no longer cared about healing his wounds. He spent all his time traveling to prevent the experts of the Serpent God Hall from catching up to him again. Before long, newbies caught up from behind as well. He flew into the distance with Jian Qin and Xia Wang. Newbies was currently pale-faced and in a horrible shape. He coughed up blood from time to time, having been heavily injured. Jian Qin took out a large number of Class 6 Radiant Spirit pills from his space ring and gave them to newbies. He said, swallow these. Although they won't be enough to heal you completely, they can at least alleviate some of your wounds and prevent them from worsening. Now that Xia Wang was present, Jian Qin did not want to expose the secret of the Saint artifact. Newbies did not hold back at all. He directly grabbed all the Class 6 Radiant Spirit pills from Jian Qin's hands and swallowed them like candy. I really don't know if I made the wrong choice by following you. I never thought that I would offend the Serpent God Hall so quickly. The Serpent God Hall possesses absolute authority in their territory. They can command all the organizations of various sizes. We can't stay in the Serpent God Hall anymore. We need to leave, Xia Wang grumbled. Jian Qin immediately took out a map and checked it. He said, we're closest to the territory of the Heavens Spirit Hall right now. Let's hurry to the Heavens Spirit Hall immediately. Jian Qin, Xia Wang, and Xia Wang hurried to the territory of the Heavens Spirit Hall. After traveling for 3 whole days, they finally arrived at the edge of the territory of the Serpent God Hall. They were less than 10,000 kilometers away. During those 3 days, Jian Qin's wounds had completely healed from the powerful regenerative abilities of the chaotic body. Even newbies had recovered from his wounds with the assistance of a large number of Class 6 Radiant Spirit pills, returning to his peak condition. During the 3 days of fleeing, Jian Qin ignored the exhaustion of his soul. He constantly expanded the senses of his soul, enveloping a radius of several thousand kilometers. He paid close attention to the situation in the surroundings and avoided any possible dangers. At this moment, Jian Qin's face changed slightly. He growled, "Oh no, the experts of the Poseidon Hall have actually caught up. They're even stronger this time. We can't stop them at all. Let's go." "What? They've actually caught up again? How did they find us?" Newbies' face changed slightly. Without any hesitation, he grabbed Jian Qin's arm and charged forward as fast as he could. As long as they traveled another 10,000 kilometers, they would leave the territory of the Serpent God Hall. Newbies fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to travel. He moved 3 or 4 times faster than before, disappearing into the sky in the blink of an eye. Xiaowang's strength was similar to Nubi's. He was a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler, so he followed closely behind Nubi's and Xiaowang. However, the 2 holy emperor experts behind them moved even faster. When Jianqin's group was still 3,000 kilometers away from the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they could vaguely sense their tremendous presences. God damn it, they're experts at the 3rd heavenly layer at the very least. If they catch up to us, we won't be able to escape anymore. Nubi's face changed drastically as he cried out. He immediately sped up, flying toward the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall with lightning-like speed. The distance between the 2 sides rapidly narrowed as they pursued. At this moment, Jian Chen's group could clearly see the 2 experts chasing after them. They were less than 50 kilometers away now. You've injured a member of the Serpent God Hall, so we will hunt you down to the ends of the world. You won't be able to escape, so just surrender obediently. A thunderous voice rang out from behind them. The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall, who were chasing after them, had called out, "Surrender? Do you think we're idiots?" Nubi's pouted and whispered in disdain. However, he did not slow down at all. Instead, he sped up. Finally, Jianqin's group was only 25 kilometers away from the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. At this moment, the 2 elders behind them seemed to become worried. They struck out decisively, sending out a powerful blade qi at Jianqin and Nubi's with lightning speed. The blade qi had completely locked onto their presences, making it impossible to dodge. "I'll block it." Jianqin bellowed out at the sky. Chaotic force surged wildly within him as he pushed the defenses of the chaotic body to their limits. Boom! The powerful blade qi directly landed on Jianqin's chest. His clothes were immediately reduced to pieces, revealing the golden armor he wore underneath. His chest caved in as all the bones there had been shattered. If it were not for the armor, Jianqin probably would have been cleaved in half. Spurt! Jianqin vomited blood. His organs had been pulverized after blocking the combined attack from the 2 holy emperor. His wounds were much more severe than before. At the same time, Nubi's left the territory of the Serpent God Hall with Jianqin and Xiaowang. They arrived in the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and did not stop at all. They continued to fly into the depths of the territory, disappearing into the horizon in the end. The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall stopped at the border of the 2 regions. They stared at Jianqin's group with reluctance. They did not dare to take a single step beyond the border. Chapter 885. We were a step too late. They've actually entered the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Should we continue to chase after them? One of the elders watched Jianqin and Charlie leave and asked with a heavy voice. The other old man pondered for a while before replying, "We can't enter the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall without permission. Let's report this to the Hall elders and wait for them to discuss it with the people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall before taking action." Afterwards, the 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall immediately reported the matter to the Hall elders. When Charlie and Jensen's master, Baiyan, learned that Jianqin and the others had entered the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall with the item, his face immediately became stern. He frowned heavily. "It's going to be troublesome. I hope the people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall don't learn about the existence of that item, or will probably need the Hall Master to personally take it back. However, if that happens, a conflict will be unavoidable between our Serpent God Hall and the Heaven's Spirit Hall. At the same time, the Poseidon Hall will definitely not allow that item to exist. If the Hall Master learns about it, she'll definitely mobilize all the forces in the territory to destroy it. They definitely won't allow it to exist," Charlie said with a heavy voice. He was extremely stern. "Right now, I just hope that the people who took it don't know about its secret. At the same time, the people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall don't know about it either. That way, we might still have a way to salvage the situation." The light of wisdom flickered through the eyes of Jensen's master, Bayen. He had many more ideas than Charlie. What other ideas do you have? Charlie immediately looked at Bayen. Let's talk to the Hall Elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and send some people into the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall under the pretext of pursuing an enemy. We have to take back that item, said Bayen. Charlie's eyes lit up. All right, I'll use the communication stone to contact the Heaven's Spirit Hall right now. Charlie and Bayen immediately used a special tool of the Divine Hall to contact the Hall Elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They told the Hall Elders what they had prepared long ago. After a series of friendly negotiations, they finally received permission to enter the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. At the same time, in the territory of the distant Heaven's Spirit Hall, 3 Hall Elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall were gathered in the center of the enormous Divine Hall. The Serpent God Hall has sent experts to the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall to hunt down an enemy. That's strange. Why do I feel like this matter is not as simple as it seems on the surface? Said one of the 3 Hall Elders. I also feel that this matter is not as simple as it seems on the surface. His Highness Poseidon is definitely hiding something from us. Otherwise, such a trivial matter would not require their respected elders to personally come out. They could have just sent the rest of the powerhouses to hunt him down. Now that you've mentioned it, I also feel like this matter is a little strange. Their enemy has entered the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall. So the Poseidon Hall is completely capable of dispatching the experts of their tribes to hunt them down. Why must they send people from their Divine Hall over? The 3 Divine Hall Elders began to speculate. They all sensed that something was wrong. Right at this moment, a blurry figure appeared out of thin air on the empty throne above the hall. With the appearance of this figure, the entire hall was enveloped in a layer of terrifying pressure. The 3 Hall Elders were surprised. They immediately became respectful. They stood up at the same time and bowed to the blurry figure. They said in unison, "Greetings, Hall Master. I can sense a sliver of the presence of the abyssal crystal." "Go investigate immediately," said the Hall Master. The Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall said. Although his voice was calm, it was filled with an irresistible might. "What, the abyssal crystal?" The 3 Hall Elders became stunned. Disbelief filled their faces. The Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall had already disappeared. He did not say anything else, as if he had only appeared to give this order. The 3 Hall Elders looked at each other. Only after a while did one of them finally say, "It said that the abyssal crystal comes from the depths of the Sea of Despair. The coldness there is something that even emperors find difficult to endure. I never thought that there would be emperors who would risk their lives to obtain the abyssal crystal. The abyssal crystal is a special crystal. No one knows how it was formed. It has the ability to gather the essence of water elements. It's a legendary treasure in our sea realm, but no one has ever possessed it before. Legend has it that in ancient times, the great Poseidon went to the depths of the Sea of Despair to obtain a large piece of abyssal crystal to create the Divine Hall of Despair. However, Poseidon passed away due to the end of his lifespan. So he moved the Divine Hall of Despair to wander freely through the boundless divine realm. No one has ever been able to find its exact location. There's a special connection between the abyssal crystals. It's said that as long as you find a piece of abyssal crystal and refine it using a special secret technique, you can find the exact location of the Divine Hall of Despair in the boundless divine realm. All right, let's not talk about that anymore. Let's carry out the Hall Master's orders. Suddenly, the expression of one of the Hall Elders changed. He said, "It just so happens that the matter of the Serpent God Hall hunting down a few of their enemies is rather strange. Do you think it has something to do with the abyssal crystal? Could it be that the enemies the Serpent God Hall is hunting down are the people with the abyssal crystal?" The 3 Hall Elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall guessed. Very soon, they connected the news of the abyssal crystal to Genshin and the others who were being hunted down. "I think that's probably the case. Let's go arrange it quickly. Regardless of whether the abyssal crystal is with the people being hunted down by the serpent god Hall, we need to investigate as soon as possible. If it really is, as we guessed, we have to obtain the abyssal crystal before the serpent god Hall does. Within the territory of the Poseidon Hall, a blue-robed, mature woman who seemed to be in her 20s sat in the air of a secret room. She seemed extremely ordinary, but she was extremely beautiful. She was like a goddess that had descended from the heavens. Hall Master, Qing Yishuan has arrived. At this moment, an old voice rang out from outside the hall. Let her in. The woman sitting cross-legged in the air opened her mouth and spoke in a lively voice. The door to the secret room slowly opened. Qing Yishuan, dressed in white, walked in. Her beautiful face was slightly pale with a tinge of black. She had not fully recovered from the injuries she had received in the battle for the Octaterra map fragment a few days ago. Even the poison in her body had not been completely purged. Qing Yishuan bowed politely to the woman before her and said, Qing Yishuan greets the Hall Master. Qing Yishuan, go heal in the pool of samsara. Once you've recovered, immediately go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall with Lei Batian and the others, said the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. A sliver of excitement immediately appeared on Qing Yishuan's face when she heard that she could heal in the pool of samsara. With the assistance of the pool of samsara, she would only need 2 days to recover from her injuries. Even the poison that had tormented her for so long could be purged. Qing Yishuan suppressed her excitement and asked curiously, May I ask why the Hall Master wants me to go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall? Once you've recovered, you can learn the details of the mission from Lei Batian. You can leave, said the Hall Master of the Poseidon gently. His voice was emotionless. Yes, Qing Yishuan will take her leave now. Qing Yishuan bowed politely before leaving. Although Jianshan, Nubis, and Xiaowang had shaken off the pursuit of the 2 holy emperor of the Serpent God Hall, they did not dare to relax at all. They continued to fly towards the depths of the Heaven's Spirit Hall without slowing down at all, constantly changing their route along the way. Jianshan was carried on Nubis' back right now. He was very injured, so he was using the advantage of the chaotic body to heal as quickly as he could. After 4 hours of continuous travel, a medium-sized city finally appeared on the horizon in front of them. There's a city up ahead. There are many people in the city, so it'll be very good at hiding our tracks. Let's stop there for a while first and continue once you've recovered. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome if someone catches up to us again in your current state, suggested Nubis. We'll be too obvious of a target if we flee like this. We can hide in the city first. The experts of the Serpent God Hall are restricted by the territory, so they won't dare to set foot here, agreed Xiaowang. Jianshan thought about it. He knew that his current state was indeed unsuitable for traveling. Since they were safe now, the matter at hand was to heal as soon as possible. He needed to maintain his peak condition at all times to deal with any sudden situations. All right, let's enter the city first, said Jianshan. Afterward, the 3 of them directly flew into the city and landed in an extremely well-hidden place. They found a rather remote inn to stay in for the time being. Just as Jianshan's group settled down in the city, the 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall received a message from a hall elder at the border between the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They immediately rejoiced and no longer had any concerns. They directly crossed the border and entered the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, continuing their search for Jianshan. There's still a faint smell of blood in the air. This must be their path of escape. Follow me. One of the elders of the Serpent God Hall who was pursuing Jianshan smelled the smell of blood in the air. He immediately pursued Jianshan's group as quickly as possible, and the path they took was exactly the same as the one Jianshan's group had taken. After traveling over 10,000 kilometers, the 2 elders stopped again. The old man, with an especially sharp sense of smell, sniffed the air again and said, The smell of blood is getting thicker and thicker. They just passed by here recently. We'll catch up to them very soon. Let's go. With that, the 2 of them continued onwards. They were getting closer and closer to the small city Jianchen's group resided in. At this moment, a few tremendous presences appeared in the distance. A few figures quickly flew over from afar, and their target was actually the two elders of the Serpent God Hall. The two elders of the Serpent God Hall ignored him and continued to chase after the smell of blood in the air. They only treated him as a passerby. "Warriors, please wait," a voice suddenly called out. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the opposite side. The voice was like thunder, exploding the sky and spreading over dozens of kilometers. The two elders of the Serpent God Hall came to a halt instinctively. They hovered in the air as they stared at the rapidly approaching figures. They were emotionless. Very soon, the people stopped 20 meters away from the two elders. There were a total of 4 of them. They were an old man and 3 middle-aged men. The old man had already reached the level of Holy Emperor, but he was only at the first heavenly layer of Holy Emperor. The other 3 middle-aged men were all saint rulers. The old man clasped his hands at the two elders and asked, "May I ask if you are elders of the Serpent God Hall?" "Correct. We are elders of the Serpent God Hall." "Why have you stopped us?" One of the elders asked in doubt. Chapter 886. The two elders of the Serpent God Hall were immediately slightly surprised when they heard that a hall elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall had invited the two of them as guests. Although they were elders of the Serpent God Hall, that was only their status. They were ordinary elders without any authority, so why would a great hall elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall invite them? The two of them were extremely surprised. However, the two elders soon frowned. One of them said, "Please tell the esteemed hall elders that we're extremely honored to be respected by them, but we have an important mission right now, so it's not convenient for us to go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Why don't we wait until we're done with our mission and pay a visit to the Heaven's Spirit Hall?" The Holy Emperor from the Morning Sun tribe frowned slightly. He said with some displeasure, "Elders, I'm afraid that's a little inappropriate. Our hall elders are currently waiting for you in the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Are you going to ignore our esteemed hall elders and have them wait for you in the Divine Hall? Or do you not take our hall elders seriously at all?" Towards the end, the old man's voice had already become rather stern. Before he had come, he had received a death order from a hall elder to invite the two elders of the Serpent God Hall to the Heaven's Spirit Hall, no matter what. The Morning Sun tribe did not possess the strength to threaten the two elders of the Serpent God Hall, so they could only use the hall elder. The expressions of the two old men from the Serpent God Hall changed slightly. They immediately explained, No. That's not what we meant. How could we make a esteemed hall elder wait for us? We're more than happy to receive an invitation from a hall elder, so how could we not take it seriously?" The two elders of the Serpent God Hall did not dare to offend the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall at all. Every single person who could become a hall elder was an extremely terrifying expert. They had reached the peak of the 16th star and were only a step away from the 17th star. The old man from the Morning Sun tribe smiled, as if his plan had worked. He made an inviting gesture to the two of them and said, "If that's the case, then please be on your way. The 4 of us will lead the way for you so that no one will disturb you." The two elders of the Serpent God Hall looked at each other and gently sighed. They could only give up on pursuing Jianchen's group and fly toward the Divine Hall of the Heaven's Spirit Hall helplessly. They did not dare to decline or ignore the hall elders' invitation. Just as the two elders of the Serpent God Hall were invited to the Heaven's Spirit Hall by the people of the Morning Sun tribe, 2 saint rulers arrived at the city, where Jianchen's group stayed temporarily. They were at the 13th star and the 14th star, respectively. They were peak experts from 2 different tribes. The 2 saint rulers hovered 1,000 meters in the air and looked down at the city below. One of them said, "This is where the hall elders spoke of. They've probably hidden their presences in the city. The 2 of us are weaker than them, so it'll be extremely difficult to find them with our strength. Let's go to the city Lord's estate. With that, the two saint rulers made their way to the city, Lord's estate, disappearing in the huge estate in the end. Before long, the city guards were all mobilized. They began a thorough search of every house in the city. A ruckus rang out from the remote inn where Jianchen's group stayed. It disturbed Jianchen, who was healing. Jianchen slowly opened his eyes. He frowned slightly as he became stern. At this moment, the door was pushed open. Newbies and Xia Wang walked in wearing blue robes. Jianchen, there are quite a few soldiers searching outside. Do you think they've come for us? Newbies asked as soon as he walked in. Jianchen sat on the bed without moving. He slowly nodded and said, "That's right. They've come for us. The hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall are looking for us." Newbies' face changed slightly. "What? Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall? God damn it, we don't even know them. Why are they looking for us for no reason? Don't tell me you've offended the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall as well," Xiaowang said as he stared at Jianchen and Newbies in doubt. "We have nothing to do with the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Are they suddenly looking for us for the same reason as the Serpent God Hall?" Jianchen said slowly. He could not help but think of the mysterious key that shined with intense blue light stored in the artifact space. "I think that's probably the case. The experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall are resourceful. As soon as we've entered their territory, they've already come looking for us." Newbies was stern. They had just escaped from the Serpent God Hall. Originally, they thought that they would be safe and could find a place to cultivate without any worries. However, they never thought that trouble would come looking for them before they could even rest after entering the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They were in trouble once again. "Open the door and search." At this time, a rude shout came from outside the door. The door of the inn was kicked open, and several soldiers wearing special armor walked in from outside. Jianchan and newbies all looked at the soldiers. Although their gazes were very indifferent, the soldiers immediately felt their hearts tighten when they faced the gazes of saint rulers. It was as if all the air in the surroundings had been sucked away, making it difficult for them to breathe. The captain at the very front forcefully maintained his composure. He glanced past Jianchan newbies in fear and said, "We've been ordered to search for criminals. Sorry for the disturbance, warriors. Let's go." The captain did not dare to stay any longer. With a wave of his hand, he left the room with the soldiers behind him. At the same time, he gently closed the door behind him. Afterward, the captain immediately left the inn and hurried to the city, Lord's estate. Jianchen slowly stood up in the inn and said, "Our exact location has been discovered. How unlucky. How did I run into so much trouble as soon as I followed you? First, the Serpent God Hall hunted me down, and now the Heaven Spirit Hall is searching for us everywhere. If I had known earlier, I would never have followed you here to suffer, even if I couldn't break through to the 15th star." Xia Wang grumbled as he crossed his arms. He was filled with regret. Newbies looked at the resentful Xia Wang and snickered. "It's a pity that you have no other choice, because you've already offended the people of the Serpent God Hall. I don't think the Serpent God Hall will let you go. Even if you hide in the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they'll still have ways to take your life. The only way for you to survive now is to follow us. Let's not talk about this right now. Let's go. They've already discovered us, so we can't stay here any longer." Xia Wang sighed. There was no turning back now. Newbies was right. In order to maintain their dignity, the Serpent God Hall would never let go of anyone who opposed them. Jianchen walked to the window and opened it. He stared at the bustling street outside with brimming eyes and said, "The Heaven's Spirit Hall has come looking for us for no reason, so it definitely won't be anything good. We can't stay here any longer. We need to leave as soon as possible and go to the territory of the Poseidon Hall. We might be safer there." "Are you sure the people of the Poseidon Hall won't make trouble for you?" Xia Wang asked in concern. Jianchen hesitated. He could not help but think of the words of the mysterious woman who had given him the water spirit pearl. She had once told him that if he could not stay in the Serpent God Hall any longer, he could go to the territory of the Poseidon Hall. It would be safe there. I think we'll stay in the Poseidon Hall because no one will make trouble for us, Gentian gently murmured. He believed that the mysterious woman would not harm him. All right, let's hope that's the case. Let's go now, Xia Wang said in a hurry. Xia Wang said anxiously. He really didn't want to stay here for even a moment longer. Every moment he stayed here, there would be more danger. At this moment, two tremendous presences appeared from the city lord's estate. Two figures directly flew towards the inn where Gentian's group was. They moved very quickly, arriving at the entrance of the inn in just a few seconds. With a slight sway of their bodies, they turned into blurs and climbed up the stairs extremely quickly. They appeared in the room where the three of them were. The two of them were old men in their 60s. They wore blue robes, and their long blue hair was coiled into a bun on top of their heads. Their deep eyes were like the vast starry sky, making it very difficult to tell what they were thinking from their eyes. I am Dawn. Greetings, warriors. I am Tennisk. Greetings, warriors. As soon as the two old men entered the room, they did not allow Gentian's group to speak. They clasped their hands at them and greeted them. They were extremely friendly. Gentian's group looked at one another before Gentian said emotionlessly, May I ask why the two of you have suddenly come looking for us? 3 brave warriors. The two of us are from 2 different tribes thousands of miles away. Not long ago, we received a message from the esteemed temple elder. The esteemed temple elder has invited the two of you to the Heaven's Spirit Palace, Tennisk said with a smile. Please reply to the esteemed hall elder. The 3 of us are currently busy, so we might not be able to go to the hall right now. However, we will definitely come and apologize in the future, Jianshin said. Don and Tennisk were troubled. One of them said, Warrior, that's not very good. This is an invitation, personally sent by the esteemed hall elder. How can you refuse? Please tell the hall elder what I just said. The 3 of us still have matters to attend to, so we'll be leaving first, Gentian said without any hesitation. He immediately left with newbies and Don. Chapter 887. Warriors, I'm afraid it's not very good for you to ignore the esteemed hall elder's invitation, Den and Tiwanwax said with a troubled expression. In the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, receiving an invitation from an esteemed hall elder was a supreme honor. It was a symbol of status. Everyone would be overjoyed by an invitation like that, so they would not turn it down. De and TYNYX were rather surprised that Gentian's group had firmly rejected the hall elder's invitation. They never thought that this would happen when they came. Gentian's group no longer paid any attention to De and TYNYX. They directly left the inn after paying the bill. They did not stay for even a moment longer, quickly leaving the city and flying towards the territory of the Poseidon Hall. De and TYNYX both frowned heavily as they watched Gentian's group leave. They would not be able to report back after failing to complete the hall elder's mission. However, with their strength, they could only watch as Gentian's group left. They dared not stop them at all. What do we do now? How do we report back to the hall elder? TYNYX asked with a heavy voice, and it gently sighed. Let's just report it as it is. There's nothing else we can do. Afterwards, Anda and TYNYX immediately used special tools to contact the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They reported everything that had happened here to the hall elders. 5 hall elders had already gathered in the huge, floating divine hall in the center of the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They had all received orders from the hall master to investigate the abyssal crystal, so they had all gathered together to discuss the matter. Very good. The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall are already on their way to our Heaven's Spirit Hall. That way, we can find the people they're pursuing before they do, and see if our guesses are correct. If the abyssal crystal really is with the 3 of them, we've done a great service, said a middle-aged man. The one who spoke was a refined, middle-aged man. He wore a white robe and looked gentle and refined. He looked like a scholar who had read a lot of books and poems. The middle-aged man was called Mu-He. He was a hall elder of the Serpent God Hall, one of the peak experts only below the hall master. An old man beside Mu, he closed his eyes slightly. Soon after, he sneered, "I just received a message. I sent people to invite the three of them. But not only did they refuse, they even fled. They don't dare to come to my heaven's spirit hall. It looks like there really is something wrong with the three of them. If that's the case, let's send the elders over quickly. We have to keep them here," Mu-He nonchalantly said. "I have already sent 2 elders and several envoys to rush there. However, due to the distance, it will take some time for them to get there. For now, let's just sit here quietly and wait. I believe there will be good news soon." Jianchen newbies and Xia Wang flew through the air as quickly as they could. Jianchen had already made a full recovery after using a strand of his Radiant Saint Force origin energy. His battle prowess had reached his peak once again. Jianchen, Heiyu, and Xiaowang knew that both the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall had supreme secret techniques that could find them. It was useless, no matter how they tried to hide their presences, even if they hid in the artifact space. As a result, they did not try to hide themselves along the way. They flew over countless tribes of various sizes as they radiated with tremendous presences. They directly flew toward the territory of the Poseidon Hall. Every tribe and clan in the sea realm treated their territory with great importance. They forbade anyone from flying over their territory without their permission, or it would be a blatant provocation. They would never let the matter rest. As a result, Jianchen, Heiyu, and Xiaowang offended many tribes and clans along the way. However, these organizations were not particularly powerful. As soon as they sensed their presences, which had basically reached the peak of the 14th star, they immediately fell silent. They no longer dared to pursue their unreasonable actions. However, not all organizations had supreme experts who feared the three of them. When the three of them flew over the territory of a large clan with lightning-like speed, a roar immediately rang out. An old man flew up from below with a tremendous presence, furiously chasing after Jianchen, Xiaowang, and Xiaowang. "Insolent juniors, how dare you so arrogantly barge into my Shun Yu clan's territory? You're simply looking down on my Shun Yu clan. All of you, stay here and report your identities. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." He fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to chase after Jianchen. He was several times faster than Jianchen, Xiaowang, and Xiaowang. The Shanyue clan was a peak tribe that spanned several 100,000 kilometers. It was equivalent to an ancient clan on the Tianyuan continent. They possessed a holy emperor, making them renowned. 15th star Poseidon warrior. Xiaowang's face changed slightly when he sensed the tremendous presence from the old man. The three of them knew that they could not outrun the holy emperor, so they all stopped. Newbies stared at the ancestor of the Shanyue clan with a sunken face. He cursed, "A mere holy emperor at the first heavenly layer dares to be so arrogant? Get your great-grandpa newbies to teach you a lesson." Newbie's battle intent surged as he charged toward the ancestor with an unstoppable presence. The ancestor of the Shanyue clan thought that the three of them had stopped because they had been frightened by the 15th star Poseidon warrior. He secretly rejoiced inside, but just when he was about to yell out, he saw Newbies charge toward him aggressively. A cold light flashed through the ancestor's eyes as he sneered. "Good timing. Brat, who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth dares to challenge a 15th star Poseidon warrior at the peak of the 14th star. Today, I'll let you experience the power of a 15th star Poseidon warrior." With that, the ancestor threw a punch at Newbies. Newbies was fearless. His fist turned golden in an instant and collided with the ancestor's fist with great force. Boom! The two people's fists almost shattered the void, causing it to violently tremble. The aftershocks of the fists reached below, causing the earth to shake. Countless weeds and trees were pulverized by the aftershocks. After the punch, newbies and the ancestors' bodies were as still as mountains. They hovered there steadily as they engaged in an intense battle once again. The old man has underestimated you. I never thought that your battle prowess would be no weaker than a regular 15th star despite being at the peak of the 14th star. However, do you think you can beat the old man just like that? The ancestor growled before freezing the surrounding space with his mind, trapping newbies inside. Newbies spat out a mouthful of poisonous gas that enveloped the ancestor. He waved his hands like claws, shattering the frozen space around him. The ancestor was caught off guard and inhaled a mouthful of poison. His expression immediately changed. The venom of the golden-striped silver snake was extremely potent. Even though he was a holy emperor, he still felt dizzy for a moment. In that instant, Newbies' claws had already left behind over a dozen deep wounds on the ancestor's body. The wounds turned black as black blood flowed out. They had already been contaminated with the venom from Newbies' claws. The ancestor of the Shunyue clan miserably shrieked. At that moment, his face finally changed. His gaze toward Newbies was filled with fear. He had never thought that he would be injured by a mere 14-star junior despite being a 15-star expert. Moreover, his injuries were so severe. Leave. My Shuiwei clan won't pursue the matter of you trespassing on our territory, the ancestor said loudly. He no longer had the will to fight and quickly retreated. Newbies licked the blood on his hand. The pungent smell of blood awakened the sliver of brutality that belonged to a magical beast in his bloodline. He sneered. I, the great Newbies, have never personally killed a holy emperor. Since you've come looking for me, then become the first soul of a holy emperor to die at the hands of the great Newbies. At this moment, Genshin's expression suddenly changed as he watched the battle from afar. He called out, Newbies, come back. They've already caught up. We can't waste any more time. Newbies' expression changed slightly with that. He no longer cared about the ancestor of the Shuiwei clan and immediately fled back to the territory of the Poseidon Hall with Genshin and the others. The three of them fled for another hour before the experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall finally caught up to them. They blocked Genshin's path. Although only 2 elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall had come, they were both at the 3rd heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Their battle prowess was extremely great, and even Newbies could not contend against them. The 2 elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall did not immediately take action. Instead, they calmly observed the 3 of them. However, their eyes soon narrowed as they said in surprise, Ruler's Aura. There are actually 2 people with Ruler's Aura. Ruler's Aura would only appear on the ruler of a certain race. Not only did it represent the highest leader of a race, but it was also a symbol of status and strength. In the sea realm, royal clans were equivalent to ancient beasts among magical beasts. Not only were golden-striped silver snakes extremely rare, but they also had a lot of room for growth. Their battle prowess was even more shocking, far surpassing opponents of the same level of strength. However, other than clansmen of the same race, only the secret techniques of the 3 halls could sense the ruler's aura. Everyone else was unable to sense it. We've actually seen 2 people with ruler's aura at once. The 2 elders of the Heavens Spirit Hall rejoiced. They knew extremely well that people with ruler's aura would definitely become hall elders in the future. There was even a great chance for them to become supreme existences like emperors. Chapter 888. No wonder the esteemed hall elder has sent the 2 of us to invite these people who are only at the 14th star. So 2 of them actually possess the extremely rare ruler's presence. At that moment, the 2 elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall thought of that at the same time. Afterward, their gazes towards Genshin and Newbies became even gentler. They already believed that the esteemed hall elder wanted to invite Genshin's group to join the Heaven's Spirit Hall and had sent the 2 of them personally to express their sincerity. After all, only 15 star experts would be able to express the heaven's spirit hall sincerity if they wanted to invite people who possessed the ruler's presence. Esteemed rulers, the hall elder of our heaven's spirit hall wishes to invite the two of you to our heaven's spirit hall as guests. An elder of the heaven's spirit hall clasped his hands at Jianqin and Nubis. His old face was filled with smiles, and he was only polite to Jianqin and Nubis. He did not even glance at Xiaowang. Jianqin, Nubis, and Nubis looked at each other sternly. Nubis asked through a communication technique, "Jianqin, what do we do?" "We definitely can't go to the heavens spirit hall. Kill." Killing intent flashed through Jianqin's eyes as he replied through a communication technique. Nubis's eyes turned cold. He no longer hesitated as powerful battle intent surged from his chest. He directly charged at the two Holy Emperor experts. Although Nubis was not the opponent of either one of them, he could still stall for time for a short period of time. At the same time, Jianqin rapidly retreating several hundred meters in a single instance. Afterward, he formed a seal with his hands and raised his head high. He pointed his forehead at the sky and called out, "God's descent!" Jianqin and Nubis did not even have the ability to flee against two Holy Emperor experts at the third heavenly layer. They could only escape by using forbidden techniques. Rulers, what is the meaning of this? Faced with Nubis' attack, the two elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall were confused. For a moment, they only blocked and did not counterattack. They had no idea about the abyssal crystal at all. They only thought that the Hall Elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall wanted to recruit the two of them to the Heaven's Spirit Hall. As a result, they did not dare to offend the two of them too much, afraid that the two of them would make an issue out of them once they became successful. At this moment, the light between heaven and earth suddenly became intense. In the sky, a milky white light suddenly appeared, rapidly passing through the seawater above and pressing down, rendering the sea world's eternal deep blue into a snow-white color. What is this? The two hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall raised their heads to look at the sky. Disbelief filled their faces. Even with the entire Tianyuan continent in perspective, very few people had seen God's descent before, let alone the people of the sea race who had basically never set foot outside the sea realm. Even though they were Holy Emperor experts, they had never heard of God's descent before. After Nubis' resistance, Jianqin had finished charging his God's descent. He formed another seal with his hand and gently said, "I will use 500 years of my life as the price." Forbidden technique, God's descent. With that, the milky white light in the sky suddenly exploded. It shone brightly, illuminating most of the sea realm. Afterward, a huge pillar of white light fell from the sky, enveloping a radius of several dozen kilometers. The original laws of the world in the region enveloped by the pillar of white light were disrupted, forming new laws. The mysteries of the laws clearly appeared in Jianqin's head, allowing Jianqin to control everything as he wished. At that moment, Jianqin seemed to have become the ruler of the world, a supreme god. Whether it was Nubis, Xiaowang, or the two hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they all discovered that they had lost all their saint ruler abilities within the domain. They could no longer control the world force and the mysteries of space. What is this place? What are you trying to do? One of the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall growled. The two of them could sense that something was wrong now that the situation had developed like this. However, they could not understand why the two people with the ruler's chi would attack them no matter what. Jianqin said nothing. He knew that if he wanted to leave the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, he needed to eliminate the two Holy Emperor before him. Otherwise, no one could guarantee that the two of them would not forcefully take them away. Jianqin fused with the world, perfectly fusing with it. He controlled the laws of the world with his mind. He extended a finger, and the space before him rippled like water. Immediately, two visible ripples shot toward the two Holy Emperor. "They want to kill us." The two elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall both cried out. Now that their lives were in danger, they no longer cared about Jianqin and Xiaowang's status as rulers. They both took out their weapons to block. Both of their weapons were identical tridents. The tridents were swung out abruptly, sending out two crescent-shaped streams of energy towards the incoming ripples. The ripples were formed from the power of the laws of the world. They directly devoured the crescent-shaped qi from the two holy emperors' slashes and passed through their chests with lightning-like speed. Silently, a bowl-sized hole was melted into their chests. No blood flowed out from the wounds caused by the laws of the world. However, the wounds were unable to heal. The two elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall both grunted. They looked at Jianqin in shock. They could sense that Jianqin had become extremely terrifying right now. "We can't stay here any longer. Let's leave quickly," one of the elders said with a heavy voice before decisively fleeing. The other elder did not hesitate either. They split up and fled in another direction. "Unless you can break through this domain, none of you will be able to leave without my permission." Jianqin's cold voice rang out in the two elders' ears. "We didn't provoke you. Why do you want to kill us?" One of the elders asked sternly. "Ever since you called me to the Heaven's Spirit Hall, you've already provoked us. I think if we don't go, the two of you will forcefully take us away." Jianqin's vague voice rang out in the two of their ears. At that moment, the two elders no longer said anything. This was because they really did have such a plan in mind. The order from the Divine Hall Elder was to bring the three of them back to the Tianling continent. If they couldn't convince Jianchen with good words, then they could only forcefully bring Jianchen back in order to complete the Divine Hall Elder's mission. However, Jianchen, Xiaowang, and Xiaowang's reactions had completely exceeded their expectations. Jianchen's eyes immediately turned cold when he saw their expressions. Killing intent surged in him as he softly said, "Annihilation!" The clothes of the two elders, who were at the third heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, were instantly ripped to shreds. They turned into dust that scattered through the air before disappearing. Immediately after, their flesh began to crack like broken porcelain. The cracks spread rapidly and soon covered every corner of their bodies. Bright red blood flowed out from their bodies and dyed them red. The intense pain made the two of them cry out uncontrollably. Afterwards, boundless energy immediately surged out from their bodies, condensing into a layer of armor that blocked the invasion of the mysterious energy. "God damn it, what the hell is this? We can't waste any more time here. Let's leave quickly." The strange domain and the strange energy had already made the two elders want to retreat. They no longer dared to stay any longer, so they sped up and fled. Jianchen would not let them go. He extended a finger, and two more ripples formed from the power of the laws of the world shot toward the two of them with lightning speed. Just when the two elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall wanted to dodge, the space in the surroundings suddenly froze, binding the two of them tightly. Spurt! The power of the laws of the world directly pierced their foreheads, injuring their souls. The injuries to their souls brought intense pain to the two elders, causing them to cry out uncontrollably. Their voices were filled with endless pain. "You're actually still alive." Jianchen bathed in the white light. He seemed like a god that had descended to the mortal world, sacred and inviolable. He gently extended his right hand, and two more strands of the power of the laws of the world shot out, piercing their souls once more. The two elders clutched their heads tightly as they rolled on the ground in pain. The souls of Holy Emperor experts had become extremely powerful, so they were still alive despite being heavily injured twice. Even so, their primordial spirits had become extremely weak. Just at this moment, two huge palms instantly condensed above the two elders' heads. Then they descended like lightning and ruthlessly slapped the two elders' heads. The two elders immediately stopped screaming. Their heads had cracked as blood flowed from their orifices. Their eyes rapidly dimmed as well. This palm strike had directly dispersed their heavily injured primordial spirits, causing them to perish in both form and spirit. Just like that, 2 supreme experts who had reached the 3rd heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor had died to Genshin's god's descent. With the deaths of the 2 elders, Genshin stopped maintaining the god's descent. The milky white light that illuminated the surroundings gradually dispersed, and the surroundings returned to normal. Genshin had become pale. He had lost 500 years of his life in an instant, so his body was unable to withstand it for a short period of time. He became extremely weak and felt powerless. Even moving a finger was extremely difficult. Afterwards, he fell from the sky. Newbies arrived before Genshin in a flash and caught Genshin's falling body. He stared at Genshin sternly and said, "You've lost another 500 years of your life, including that time outside. You've lost 1,000 years of your life." Genshin smiled. "It's fine. As long as I can deal with the 2 of them, it doesn't matter even if I lose a little bit of my life. Once I break through again, I'll be able to gain another 3,000 years of life." Fortunately, the 2 of them haven't grasped any Saint tier battle skills, or it definitely wouldn't have been so easy for me to kill them. Let's not talk about that right now. Let's leave quickly. I think the experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall will come after us again before long. Newbies said sternly before arriving before the 2 experts in a flash. With a wave of his hand, he took away the space rings on their fingers before leaving with Genshin on his back. "Evil King, stop spacing out. Let's go," Newbies reminded the Evil King when he passed by him. The Evil King shuddered and finally returned to his senses. He stared at the bodies of the 2 experts from the Heaven's Spirit Hall in fright. The shock in his heart had reached its limit. He could not say anything at all. He had never thought that Genshin, who he originally thought to be weaker than Newbies, would actually possess such terrifying abilities. He had actually killed 2 15-star experts, all by himself in such a short amount of time. This greatly shocked him. In the huge temple of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, 5 elders were sitting there quietly, waiting for news. At this moment, one of the elders suddenly stood up and cried out, "Oh no, the 2 elders I sent have been killed." Chapter 889. What did you say, Luo Fu? 2 elders have been killed? How is that possible? Who is bold enough to kill elders of our Heaven's Spirit Hall? Was it the people of the Serpent God Hall? The hall elders in the hall all stood up. They were all furious. The death of 2 15-star elders was a heavy loss to the Heaven's Spirit Hall. After all, there were not as many 15-star experts as 14-star experts. Every single 15-star expert was a peak force of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Losing even one would cause the Heaven's Spirit Hall quite a bit of heartache. Hall Elder Luo Fu shook his head and said, "The souls I left on them have already vanished. Through my senses, the 2 of them seem to have died to the hands of the 3 people being hunted down by the elders of the Serpent God Hall. How is that possible? How did they kill 2 15-star elders with their strength as 14th-star Poseidon warriors? How did they do it? Have they all grasped Tian level saint techniques?" An elder involuntarily cried out. Disbelief filled his face. "I don't know how they did it, but before the 2 elders died, I lost my connection to the life spirit for a period of time. It seemed to have entered another space. When I regained my connection to the life spirit, the 2 of them were already dead. I think the 3 of them must have used some unknown method to kill the 2 elders," Luo Fu said in a low voice. Since the 2 15-star elders can't bring the 3 of them back, let's get the 16-star elders to go as well. Pass down the order of the 5 hall elders to have the 3 law enforcement elders go together. They must bring the 3 of them back, ordered the hall elder Himu. The 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall were all renowned experts. They were all at the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. On the Tianyuan continent, Probably only the 10 protector clans and mercenary city possessed the ability to send out 3 Holy Emperor 5th Heavenly Layer experts at the same time. However, the number of Holy Emperor 5th Heavenly Layer experts among them was nowhere near as great as any of the divine halls in the Sea Realm. This was because the Sea Realm was much more powerful than the Tianyuan continent. Whether it was the Holy Emperor or the number of saint rulers, the Tianyuan continent could not compare to them. At the same time, there were only 3 peak powers in the Sea Realm. Basically, all the experts here belonged to the 3 great halls, while there were 11 peak powers on the Tianyuan continent. As a result, even if the 4 protector clans worked together, they would not be able to match up to a single divine hall. At the same time, Hall Elders Charlie and Bai Yen sat in the Serpent God Hall have an ugly expression. They had received a message from the 2 elders who had been sent to kill Jianchen's group, and the situation. Why did the Hall Elders of the Heavens Spirit Hall invite 2 regular elders of our Serpent God Hall for no reason? Have they discovered the secret of the abyssal crystal? So they came up with this idea to keep the 2 elders busy? Bai Yen said with a heavy voice. His face was sunken. I think that's very likely. The matter of the abyssal crystal is extremely important. Should we gather the other hall elders and discuss this matter together? Charlie was stern. There's no hurry for now. We've never been on good terms with them. If they learn that we've made such a huge mistake, I'm worried that they'll kick us while we're down and make things difficult for us. They just happen to be cultivating in seclusion right now. So the 2 of us hold the greatest authority in the Serpent God Hall. There's still room for improvement. I'll immediately send the 4 divine generals, Bai Yen said with a heavy voice. There were a total of 4 divine generals. Every single one of them was at the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. They were 16th star warriors of the Poseidon. The white-clothed Qing Yishuan walked out of the hall in high spirits within the territory of the Poseidon Hall. With the assistance of the pool of Samsara, she had completely recovered from her wounds. Even the troublesome poison that newbies had left in her body had been purged. Qing Yishuan moved through the large divine hall with great familiarity with the medallion. She would see hall emissaries come and go from time to time along the way. All of them looked at Qing Yishuan with a sliver of respect. This was respect for an expert. Although Qing Yishuan was human, she had already lived in the Sea Realm for many years. She had come here when she was a saint ruler and had been living with the sea race ever since. She had reached her current level of cultivation and become one of the 8 great human experts of the Sea Realm. She maintained good relations with the Poseidon Hall, having the hall as her backer. Now, Qing Yishuan had vaguely become a member of the Poseidon Hall. Although she had not formally joined the Poseidon Hall, she had done many things for the hall, so she was basically a member of the Poseidon Hall now. Qing Yishuan passed through various halls and arrived in a rather ordinary side hall in the end. 3 people sat there with their eyes closed as if they were waiting for something. Among the 3, one of them was a middle-aged man. From his appearance, he seemed to be around 40 years old. The middle-aged man wore a black suit, and his resolute face was covered with black hair that covered his entire face. His figure was very tall and sturdy, with a tiger's back and a bear's waist. His entire body was dark, and he looked like a black bear. The other 2 were white-robed old men. They had white hair and ruddy complexions. They seemed sage-like like immortals. They possessed an otherworldly presence. The 2 old men were the ones who had stopped the pursuers for Qing Yishuan when she had gone to steal the map fragment of the 8 wastelands, giving her precious time to escape. As soon as Qing Yishuan entered the hall, the 3 people sitting in the hall opened their eyes at the same time. Their gazes all landed on Qing Yishuan, who was naturally beautiful. Qing Yishuan stopped in the center of the hall. She stared at the burly, middle-aged man without any emotion. She said, "Lei Batian, the Hall Master has sent me to find you. Let's go to the territory of the Heavens Spirit Hall together. May I ask what the mission is this time?" Lei Batian was one of the 5 renowned experts of the magical beasts in the Sea Realm. His strength had reached the 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. He was a mutated black bear with extremely great battle prowess, second only to beasts of antiquity. Lei Batian stood up from the ground and said in a low, muffled voice, "The Hall Master wants us to go to the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall and bring back a few people safely. Since we're all here, let's set off right now." Lei Batian, just who are they for the Hall Master to personally order us to bring them back? Said an old man. He was one of the 8 human experts who stood on the same level as Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren. Hearing Mo Ziren's words, the other human expert, Yin, looked at Lei Batian as well. Clearly, he was curious about the identities of these people. Lei Batian shook his head. "Don't ask me. I don't know who they are either. The Hall Master only gave me the method to find them. If you want to know who they are, you'll know once you find them. I've just recovered from my injuries. Once the mission is complete, I won't be coming back with you. I have other important matters to attend to in the Serpent God Hall." Qing Yishuan said coldly. Her face was frosty. A sliver of curiosity involuntarily appeared on Lei Batian's face when he saw Qing Yishuan's sunken face. He said in a muffled voice, "Qing Yishuan, why do I feel like you've become a different person? What happened?" Mo Ziren and Yin could not help but smile when they heard that. Mo Ziren chuckled. "Looks like Lei Batian still doesn't know about that. Qing Yishuan went to steal the map fragment of the 8 wastelands a few days ago and only managed to take it back after a tremendous amount of effort. However, 2 juniors who came out of nowhere ambushed her in the final moment and stole the map fragment from her. The 2 juniors were only Saint Rulers." Something like that happened. Those 2 juniors sure are bold. They actually dared to steal something from one of the 8 great human experts. Lei Batian was surprised. A faint smile appeared on his face as he thought, "No wonder Qing Yishuan's face is so sunken. She's a mighty 5th heavenly layer Saint King. But 2 Saint Rulers have actually stolen something from her. That's embarrassing." Lei Batian, Mo Ziren, and Yin only knew that Qing Yishuan had lost the map fragment of the 8 wastelands to the 2 juniors. If they learned that not only had the map fragment of the 8 wastelands been stolen, but there was also another personal item, who knew what their expressions would be like? Qing Yishuan's face darkened even more as she listened to their discussion. She clenched her fists tightly as rage and killing intent burned in her eyes. She gritted her teeth and said, "I will definitely find the 2 of them and tear them to pieces with my own hands to vent my anger." Lei Batian sniggered. "You can go find your enemies after you complete the Hall Master's mission. All right, since everyone's here, let's set off." Afterward, the 4 of them left the Poseidon Hall and hurried to the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Although the 4 of them were working for the Poseidon Hall, they had not officially become a part of the Poseidon Hall. As a result, they could enter and leave the 3 territories as they pleased. The 3 territories of the Sea Realm only forbade the people of the Divine Hall from entering without permission. The clans, tribes, or some other people were not restricted. Within the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, Jianqin, newbies, and Xiaowang continued to flee as if their lives depended on it. Although they had killed the 2 Holy Emperor experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they knew that the danger they faced had not been resolved. Instead, it had become even more severe, as the enemies chasing after them would only become stronger and stronger. The 3 of them flew towards the territory of the Poseidon Hall in a straight line. During this time, Jianqin expanded the senses of his soul from time to time, observing the surroundings. At the same time, he checked the strength of the tribes they passed by. In order to save time, whenever they passed by a small tribe, they would fly over it fearlessly, taking the shortest route to the Poseidon Hall. However, whenever they came across a large tribe with a Holy Emperor expert, they would avoid them from afar and take a detour to avoid causing unnecessary trouble along the way and wasting time. Chapter 890. After 2 days of travel, Gentian's group had already traveled several 100,000 kilometers. They were currently at the edge of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, so they were still over 200,000 kilometers away from the Poseidon Hall. This was the speed newbies and Xiaowang could travel with their strength as ninth heavenly layer saint rulers and their control over spatial force. If Jianqin had traveled with his speed, he would probably have only been able to cover a third of the distance in the same amount of time. We'll be able to enter the territory of the Poseidon Hall in another half a day. We'll be safe then and won't need to worry about being hunted down, Newbies said as he traveled with Jianqin. However, he would glance behind from time to time as a gleam of light flashed through his eyes. There were several saint rulers pursuing the three of them. They were all at the 8th and 9th heavenly layer of saint ruler, and they belonged to different tribes. Newbies Xiaowang and Xiaowang flew over many tribes fearlessly, which was a blatant provocation. As a result, a few experts who believed themselves to be powerful chased after them. They wanted to seek an explanation from Jianqin's group and regain their dignity. Newbies Xiaowang and Xiaowang did not pay too much attention to the pursuers because they no longer had the time to deal with them. Their priority was to reach the territory of the Poseidon Hall as soon as possible. At this moment, 3 tremendous presences rapidly expanded from behind. 3 old men flew toward the 3 of them with lightning-like speed. The 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall had already caught up to Jianqin's group. Jianqin, Xiaowang, and Xiaowang did not have the ability to flee when they were pursued by the Holy Emperor, who was at the 5th heavenly layer. They were blocked off very soon. The 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall were all old men. They wore the same set of black robes and were dignified. Tremendous presences revolved around them, causing the surroundings to tremble. They were extremely terrifying. The saint rulers of the various clans approached as well. They all looked at the 3 disciplinary elders in black robes. The tremendous presence that radiated from the disciplinary elders made them all shiver inside. They knew that the 3 old men's strength had reached an extremely terrifying level. However, their gazes soon landed on the red-chained badges on the chests of the 3 disciplinary elders. Their faces immediately changed, and they bowed to the 3 disciplinary elders. Greetings to the disciplinary elders. The 3 disciplinary elders stared at Jianqin and Newbies. A strange light flickered through their eyes, and one of them waved his hand at the saint rulers pursuing Jianqin's group. He said, "There's nothing for you here. You can leave now." Yes, disciplinary elders. The saint rulers of the various tribes did not dare to disobey. They bowed to the 3 disciplinary elders before retreating far away. However, they did not leave. Instead, they watched from 10 kilometers away. They all wanted to see just what had happened, that the 3 disciplinary elders had moved out at the same time. The light in Jianqin's eyes flickered. Through his senses, he could already tell that the 3 disciplinary elders were no weaker than Ling Yuanzi and Bai Yifei from the Yuan sect. They were much more powerful than the 2 elders who had died to his god's descent. Looks like I can only use the god's descent again. If I use 1,000 years of my lifespan, I should be able to kill the 3 of them. A gleam of light flickered through Jianqin's eyes. He could only use the god's descent now to escape from the 3 disciplinary elders, because he had already killed 2 elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. The enmity between him and the Heaven's Spirit Hall was already set in stone, and it would be very difficult to resolve. However, the price of 1,000 years of his lifespan was just too great, which made Jianqin rather hesitant. He had already used the god's descent twice before, so he had already shaved off 1,000 years of his lifespan. If he shaved off another 1,000 years of his lifespan, he would lose an entire 2,000 years. He would be left with less than 1,000 years. Ruler's presence. There are actually 2 people with ruler's presence. The 3 disciplinary elders constantly looked at Jianqin and Newbies. Their faces were filled with shock. Were the 2 elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall killed by you? A while later, One of the disciplinary elders asked Jianshin's group, "That's right, we killed them. You must have come to avenge them." Jianshin was expressionless. He was already prepared to use the god's descent at any time. The 3 disciplinary elders gently shook their heads. One of them said, "The 3 of us won't make things difficult for you, but the hall elders want to see you. Please come with us. If you're willing to join our Heaven's Spirit Hall, I believe the hall elders will no longer pursue the matter of you killing 2 elders of our Heaven's Spirit Hall." With that, the 3 disciplinary elders arrived before Jianshin's group at the same time. Before they could agree, they struck out without any hesitation. One by one, they directly extended their hands towards Jianshin's group. A sliver of determination appeared in Jianshin's eyes. He immediately formed a seal with his hands and raised his head, about to use the god's descent. However, in the final moment, Jianshin's eyes suddenly narrowed. His lips curled into a faint sneer, and he stopped using the god's descent. Another 4 vast presences rapidly spread out from the distance. As 4 whistles rang out, 4 figures rapidly approached with unbelievable speed. In the previous moment, they were still on the horizon, but in the next moment, they had already stopped in front of the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They faced each other with a distance of 20 meters between them. The 4 of them were 2 middle-aged men and 2 old men. They wore blue robes that were embroidered with 4 lifelike serpents. The eyes of the serpents were bright red, and their faces were vicious and terrifying. Their exposed, sharp teeth flickered with a chilling light, causing people to shiver. The appearance of the 4 people made the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall suddenly change in expression. One of them immediately yelled out, "For divine generals of the Serpent God Hall, how dare you trespass on the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall as a member of the Divine Hall?" The 3 disciplinary elders were clearly extremely fearful of the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall. The Divine Hall elders have already communicated with your Heaven's Spirit Hall. Our Serpent God Hall is pursuing our enemies, so we can enter the territory of your Heaven's Spirit Hall, the Divine General of the Serpent God Hall said indifferently. Afterwards, he looked at Jianshin's group of 3, who had been captured by the 3 disciplinary elders. He said, "The 3 of them are the enemies of our Serpent God Hall. I hope the 3 disciplinary elders can hand them over to us. As long as we complete the mission, the 3 of us will immediately leave the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall." No, the 3 of them killed 2 elders of our Heaven's Spirit Hall recently, so they're also criminals of our Heaven's Spirit Hall. We've come under the orders of the Divine Hall elders to take them back and let the Divine Hall elders deal with them. We can't hand them over to you, one of the disciplinary elders said with a heavy voice. He did not back down at all. We must take them away. The 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall said emotionlessly. With that, a powerful presence radiated from the 4 of them, expressing their determination to fight. If that's the case, we can only fight. The 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall refused to back down. They radiated with surging battle intent and threw Jianshin's group of 3 far away at the same time. They took out their weapons and began fighting against the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall. The battle between 7 Holy Emperor experts at the 5th heavenly layer was extremely spectacular. As soon as they clashed, terrifying shockwaves of energy swept through the surroundings, enveloping a radius of several dozen kilometers. Jianshin, newbies, and Xiaowang were immediately affected by the shockwaves of the battle. They were all blown far away by the violent shockwaves. Xiaowang, on the other hand, paled slightly due to his fragile body. He had been injured by the shockwaves of the battle. Although Jianshin was weaker than Xiaowang, his body's defense was much stronger than Xiaowang's. When the powerful shockwaves of the battle struck him like a huge boulder, he was only slightly shaken up. It did not affect him much. Newbies, on the other hand, was unscathed. He had already taken half a step into the Holy Emperor realm, so his overall strength was equivalent to a first or second heavenly layer Holy Emperor. It was very difficult for the shockwaves of a battle between fifth heavenly layer Holy Emperor experts to harm him. The saint rulers who had chased after Jianqin and had stopped 10 kilometers away were not as relaxed as Jianqin and the others. The ninth heavenly layer saint rulers all retreated with pale faces, while the remaining 8th heavenly layer saint rulers all began to bleed from the corner of their mouths. Their injuries were even more severe. The battle domain of the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall had already been filled with violent ripples of energy. The space there trembled violently and became blurry. It had already drowned out their figures. What are you still standing around for? Let's go. Newbies immediately pulled Jianqin and Xia Wang away. Even though the battle between the Holy Emperor experts was extremely interesting, the 3 of them were in no mood to enjoy it. I really am unlucky. I'm done for. I've actually offended the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall at the same time. If I offend the Poseidon Hall as well, there won't be any place for us in the vast sea realm anymore. Following you really was the stupidest choice I've ever made. Xia Wang cursed. He felt extremely wronged. As soon as he had been tempted by Jianqin's divine water of the world to follow Jianqin, he had been hunted down by the experts of the Serpent God Hall. He had managed to escape from the Serpent God Hall to the Heaven's Spirit Hall after so much difficulty, but before he could even rest, he was hunted down by the experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. In the end, even the renowned disciplinary elders and divine generals of the 2 halls had been provoked, which almost drove him crazy. Although these days were exciting enough, they were just too exciting. Just when Jianqin and the others had fled 100 kilometers away, a divine general of the Serpent God Hall charged out of the battlefield and quickly flew toward the 3 of them. "Don't let them take them away," a disciplinary elder of the Heavens Spirit Hall yelled out. Afterwards, he gave up on his opponent and charged out of the battlefield as well, pursuing the divine general of the Serpent God Hall. "I'm your opponent. Stay here." The 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall possessed the numerical advantage, so one of them immediately caught up and kept the disciplinary elder busy. When the disciplinary elder saw the divine general get closer and closer to Jianqin's group, he could not help but panic. He knew that once the divine general took away Jianqin's group, while the 3 of them were kept busy by the other 3 divine generals, they would not be able to complete the mission the hall elder had given them. When he thought of that, a cold light flashed through the disciplinary elder's eyes. He immediately bellowed out, "9 palms wave overlaying palm." The 9 palms wave overlaying palm was a saint technique that he had created himself. Its power had already surpassed heaven-tier battle skills, reaching the level of sub-saint battle skills. The disciplinary elder struck out 9 times in a row. As the 9 palms stacked together, their power constantly increased. In particular, the final palm strike was even more powerful. It had basically combined all the power of the previous 8 palms. The divine general of the Serpent God Hall successfully received the first 5 palms, but from the 6th to the 8th, his face had already become rather pale. A sliver of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. When the 9th palm strike arrived, the divine general was immediately heavily injured. He was blown away while vomiting blood. Chapter 891. A disciplinary elder heavily injured a divine general of the Serpent God Hall with a self-created quasi-level saint technique before immediately flying off in pursuit of the divine general, who had charged towards Jianqin's trio. The divine general could no longer care about Jianqin's trio now that he was facing a powerful enemy. The veins on his arms bulged, bursting out of his sleeves as they rapidly expanded. In a single instance, they turned into 2 thick, sharp claws that flickered with cold light. They were extremely tough. The 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall were all serpents, so their most powerful weapons were their claws that could shatter metal. After one of the divine generals turned his hands into claws, he immediately swung them at the disciplinary elder who was pursuing them. The disciplinary elder's weapon was a 5-meter-long spear. Extremely powerful ripples of energy wrapped around the spear as it stabbed out with lightning speed, engaging in an intense battle with the divine general. At this moment, the divine general, who had been injured by the disciplinary elder's quasi-level saint technique, flew back with a pale face. He glanced at the disciplinary elder who was being held back by his companion and coldly said, "The quasi-level saint technique is not a true heaven-level saint technique after all. If you had created a true heaven-level saint technique, I would have been heavily injured even if I didn't die. What a pity. Mo Yen, keep him busy. I'll go take the 3 of them away. Leave this person to me. Take the 3 of them away. This is the territory of the Heavens Spirit Hall. We can't stay here for too long, or it'll be troublesome once their other experts arrive." The divine general of the Serpent God Hall, called Mo Yen, said with a heavy voice. With that, the divine general who had been injured by the quasi-level saint technique did not hesitate at all. He immediately flew towards Jianshin's trio. "Don't even think about taking them away in the territory of my Heaven's Spirit Hall." Overlapping 9 palms. The disciplinary elder who had been held back by Mo Yen called out and used the quasi-level saint technique again. "Don't think that you're the only one who knows quasi-level saint techniques. I know several as well. Although I didn't create them myself, they're not much weaker than yours. Check out my wrath of the serpent dragon." Mo Yen roared out at the sky as tremendous energy condensed into a visible storm that constantly revolved around him. In the end, it turned into a huge, pitch-black serpent dragon that was several hundred meters long. The serpent dragon was completely condensed from energy. The terrifying energy within it shook the surroundings, causing space to tremble and space to collapse. The energy was so great that it almost surpassed the limits of the space there, causing tiny cracks to appear in the surrounding space. Moreover, this was happening in the sea race's world, where space was much more stable than the outside world. If such an intense battle happened in the outside world, perhaps space would have already collapsed. Roar! The serpent dragon roared out at the sky. The terrifying sound waves caused Genshin's trio's ears to ache slightly. Afterwards, it turned into a black streak of light and charged toward the disciplinary elder with an unstoppable presence. It collided with the elder's overlapping 9 palms, producing a deafening boom. Terrifying ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings as if they wanted to destroy the world. The battle between the 2 other disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the divine general of the Serpent God Hall had reached a climax as well. They both used their full strength, and each clash would produce a great boom. The battle was extremely grand and earth-shaking. The 3 disciplinary elders were all held back by the 3 divine generals, so they could not pay any attention to Genshin's trio at all. They could only watch as a divine general rapidly approached them. "Let's split up!" Genshin called out before the 3 of them immediately fled in different directions. However, the difference between them and the divine general of the Serpent God Hall was just too great. Even though he was injured, he was still extremely powerful. In just a short while, Genshin's trio had been captured by the divine general. "You're dreaming if you think you can escape from us 4 divine generals with your strength. Since you want to run so badly, I might as well beat you up until you're heavily injured. Let's see if you still have the strength to run." The divine general who had captured Genshin's trio sneered before throwing 3 palm strikes at them. The terrifying force directly surged into the bodies of Genshin's trio, pulverizing their organs. Spurt! 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 The 3 of them vomited a mouthful of blood that was mixed with bits of organs. They immediately became extremely pale, having been heavily injured. Whether it was Nubis' body of a beast or Genshin's chaotic body, they were unable to endure a palm strike from a 5th heavenly layer expert like the Holy Emperor. They were all injured without being able to put up any resistance. Their clothes had been reduced to dust, and only Genshin's golden armor remained unscathed. It had already become dull. What are these clothes? They're actually undamaged after taking a palm strike from me. They must be some kind of treasure. The divine general's gaze was attracted by Jianshin's armor. Interest filled his eyes before he directly ripped the armor off Jianshin's body. Jianshin's heart suddenly sank when the armor was taken away. Although he was heavily injured at that moment, his eyes became extremely sharp. He stared at the divine general who had taken away the armor and said through gritted teeth, "If you dare to take this away, you'll definitely regret it in the future." The divine general's eyes turned cold and he sneered, "Regret? That's right. You possess the ruler's presence, so you'll definitely reach the peak of the 16th star in the future, far surpassing us. You do indeed have the right to make me regret. But do you think you can live until then? Once we return to the Serpent God Hall, it'll be the day you too die." With that, the divine general no longer said anything else. He used spatial force to imprison Jianshin's trio before taking them to the territory of the Serpent God Hall. "I'm done for. I shouldn't have followed you in the first place. I won't even be able to enjoy the remaining 100 years of my lifespan." The heretic king was filled with regret. His face was ashen, and he was certain that he was going to die. Suddenly, a blue streak of light shot over from afar with lightning-like speed. It directly shot toward Jianshin and newbies. It was impossible to tell what it was. The divine general who had captured Jianshin's trio coldly threw a punch at the incoming blue streak of light. The blue streak of light nimbly dodged the divine general's punch and arrived before Jianshin and newbies. It constantly coiled around them as it chirped happily. Only now did they realize that the blue streak of light was actually a fist-sized bird. When the divine general saw the bird clearly, his face could not help but change. He cried out, "An abyssal bird!" At this moment, four tremendous presences suddenly appeared. Another 4 experts who were no weaker than the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall directly flew over. They moved extremely quickly, crossing several dozen kilometers in just a few seconds and arriving before Jianshin's trio. The appearance of the 4 people made the divine general who had captured Jianshin's trio become ugly. He growled, "Qing Yishuan, O Yun, and Mo Xiren of the 8 human experts and Lei Batian of the 5 magical beasts, why have you come?" The sudden arrival of the 4 of them caused a subtle change in the situation. The 3 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall and the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall all stopped fighting. The experts of the 3 organizations stood in a triangular formation in the air, surrounding the heavily injured Jianshin's trio. They all stared at the abyssal bird that constantly circled around Jianshin in surprise. That's an abyssal bird that lives in the depths of the Sea of Despair. The abyssal bird is the natural enemy of all sea races. Why is it so close to the 2 of them? At that moment, everyone present had the same thought. They were filled with doubt and curiosity as to why the abyssal bird was so close to Jianshin and newbies. The abyssal bird turned into a blue streak of light and constantly circled around Jianshin and newbies. It chirped happily before landing on Jianshin and newbies' shoulders and constantly jumping around. At the same time, the water spirit pearl that could change their presences in Jianshin's body began to tremble gently. A faint presence leaked out. Is the water spirit pearl in our bodies attracting the abyssal bird? Jianshin and newbies thought at the same time. Lei Batian stared at the abyssal bird that constantly circled around Jianshin. He said to Qing Yishuan, Mo Xiren, and O Yun secretly, "The Hall Master said that the abyssal bird will find the target. It looks like the 2 of them are the people the Hall Master wants us to bring back safely." Qing Yishuan, Mo Xiren, and O Yun shifted their gazes from the abyssal bird to Jianshin, newbies, and newbies at the same time. However, when Qing Yishuan saw Jianshin and newbies' faces, she was stunned at first, but she recognized them immediately. She immediately flew into a rage and glared at Jianshin viciously. She called out, "It's actually you 2 bastards. I'll kill you." A sword immediately appeared in Qing Yishuan's hand. Qing Yishuan had already lost her head from anger, completely forgetting about the hall master's orders and the current situation. She raised her sword in an attempt to kill the two of them and avenge her humiliation. Qing Yishuan, what are you doing? Stop! Lei Batian immediately stopped Qing Yishuan. The hall master had personally ordered them to bring back the two people that the abyssal bird had approached safely. How could he just watch Qing Yishuan kill them? Lei Batian, it's these two juniors who used despicable methods to steal the 8 wastelands from me. Move! Qing Yishuan's face was frosty as her eyes were filled with coldness and endless killing intent. Qing Yishuan would never be able to wash away the humiliation of having her personal belongings stolen and her sacred grounds invaded. Only by killing the two people who had offended her could her hatred be erased. As soon as they heard that Jianqin and newbies had stolen the 8 wastelands from the renowned Qing Yishuan, both the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall looked at Jianqin and newbies differently. Chapter 892. Jianqin and newbies were both pale as blood dripped from the corner of their lips. They looked at each other as their faces became extremely strange. None of them had thought that they would actually run into Qing Yishuan at a time like this. However, Jianqin soon smiled bitterly. He could still clearly remember how he had taken the 8 wastelands from Qing Yishuan. Due to the urgency of the situation back then, Jianqin had not considered too much. Not only had he taken the 8 wastelands, but he had even ripped off her undergarment. The undergarment was still lying quietly in his space ring. The Diablo completely lost his temper when he heard that the two of them had offended Qing Yishuan. He had been completely defeated by the audacity of Jianqin and newbies. The two of them really were fearless. Not only were they bold enough to kill the people of the Serpent God Hall and Heaven's Spirit Hall, but they were bold enough to take something from one of the renowned 8 human experts as well. Their arrogance had reached a rather high level. The Diablo feared nothing, using his supreme strength and strange evil arts to rampage through the sea realm. However, compared to Jianqin and newbies, the Diablo sadly discovered that he was not even a 10,000th of their strength. At the very least, he was not bold enough to offend the people of the Divine Hall, nor was he bold enough to take something from one of the 8 human experts. I sure have been wise all my life, but I've been foolish all my life. Why couldn't I resist the temptation of the divine water of the world and follow them? Look at it now. Let alone giving me the divine water of the world within 50 years. I don't even know if I can survive. The Diablo constantly grumbled inside. Lei Batian, Oyin, and Mo Xiren stared at Jianqin and newbies in doubt. Mo Xiren asked in doubt, Qing Yishuan, didn't you say that the juniors who took the 8 wastelands were human and a magical beast? But both of them have the aura of someone from the sea race. Could you have mistaken them for someone else? That's right, Qing Yishuan. The two of them are clearly members of the sea race. Could it be that you've mistaken them for someone else? Lei Batian said with a face full of suspicion. Qing Yishuan studied Jianqin and newbies carefully again. As expected, she discovered that while their appearances were extremely similar to the people who had stolen the 8 wastelands from her, their presences were completely different. A person's appearance could be changed at will, but it was very difficult to change one's aura, let alone the aura of a human or a beast man. Qing Yishuan finally calmed down when she realized this. Her phoenix-like eyes flickered with light as she studied the two of them. A sliver of doubt appeared on her face as she thought, have I really gotten the wrong person? Are the 2 detestable juniors who stole the 8 wastelands different people? Are they just similar to the 2 of them? Lei Batian glanced at the uneasy Qing Yishuan and said through a communication technique, Qing Yishuan, don't forget the Hall Master's orders. I don't care who stole the 8 wastelands, but the 2 of them are people the Hall Master is looking for. We have to bring them back safely, no matter what. Qing Yishuan nodded slightly. She said nothing, but she constantly glanced at Jianqin and newbies from time to time. Although their presences were different, She felt that the two of them seemed to be the two detestable juniors who had stolen the 8 wastelands. However, the change in their presences made her uncertain. She was afraid that she had mistaken them for someone else. Lei Batian, Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren, and O Yin, have you come for the 3 of them as well? A disciplinary elder of the heavens, Spirit Hall, asked coldly. Lei Batian crossed his arms and said proudly, "That's right. We have indeed come for them. I think you've already guessed a few things when you saw the abyssal bird. They're the Hall Master's people. We're only following orders to bring them back." The Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall? Does he have the same intentions as the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall? Jianshin's thoughts spun rapidly when he heard Lei Batian's words. He quickly analyzed the situation. Something doesn't seem right. The abyssal bird seems to be connected to the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. And the reason why the abyssal bird was able to find us should be because of the water spirit pearl in its body. The water spirit pearl was given to us by that mysterious woman, and she said that if we couldn't stay in the Serpent God Hall any longer, we could go to the territory of the Poseidon Hall. We would be safe there. Is that mysterious woman related to the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall? Or perhaps she's the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. If that's really the case, it explains her great strength. The Hall Masters of the 3 halls are all experts at the level of the Holy Emperor. Only experts like that can fend off the experts of the Beast God Continent. Jianshin, do you think the woman who gave us the Water Spirit Pearl is the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall? Newbies asked Jianshin secretly. Clearly, he had thought of the same thing as Jianshin. Jianshin remained silent for a while. He did not reply because he was uncertain about this matter. Lei Batian's words caused the expressions of the 4 generals and the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall to change slightly. I never thought that they would actually attract the attention of the esteemed Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. How surprising! However, they are enemies of our Serpent God Hall. So we must take them away, said a divine general of the Serpent God Hall. Even though Lei Batian had mentioned the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall, they would not back down at all. Their Serpent God Hall was not much weaker than the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. There's also my Heaven's Spirit Hall. They've killed 2 elders of my Heaven's Spirit Hall, so we must take them away and wait for the Hall elders to deal with them. The disciplinary elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall growled. Mo Ziren smiled. Since all 3 of us want to take them away and none of us can back down, why don't we do this? Let's see what the 3 of them think first, and let them make a choice. We'll see which side they'll follow. No, don't even think about it. The experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall rejected Mo Ziren's suggestion without any hesitation. Both sides knew that they had fallen out with Jianshin's group. If the 3 of them had to choose, they definitely would not have chosen them. Since no one agrees with my suggestion, may I ask if you have any good ideas to resolve this matter? Mo Ziren continued. The 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall all remained silent. Now that all the experts of the 3 organizations had gathered, there was no other way to resolve this matter apart from using strength. However, if they were to rely on strength to determine the victor, it would be very difficult to do so given the current situation of 3 parties. It was likely that they would not be able to determine the victor even if they fought for a few days and nights. This was because when both sides fought, they would be on guard against the third party and would not dare to use their full strength. At this moment, Lei Batian arrived before Jianshin's group with a flash. With a wave of his hand, an invisible force enveloped the 3 of them before he shot off in the direction he had come from. He's taken them away. Chase him. Lei Batian, don't even think about taking them away. The 4 divine generals and the 3 disciplinary elders were all furious as they pursued Lei Batian at the same time. Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren, and O Yin struck out at the same time. They used their full strength to keep the 4 divine generals and 3 disciplinary elders busy, right from the start. However, the difference in numbers was just too great. Moreover, they were all at the same level of cultivation, so their battle prowess was basically the same. The 3 of them were unable to keep the 7 of them busy at all. Immediately, 4 of them overtook them and chased after Batian. Batian flew towards the territory of the Poseidon Hall with Gentian's group as fast as he could. However, due to the burden of Gentian's group, he was slightly slower than the pursuers. The distance between them gradually closed. Batian knew that the 4 of them would catch up sooner or later if this continued. So he gritted his teeth and said to Gentian's group, "I need to stop them. I can't take you with me. Just follow this path and you'll reach the territory of the Poseidon Hall. You'll be safe once you get there." With that, Batian forcefully tossed the 3 of them far away. Afterward, he charged towards the 4 experts behind him with a huge hammer, engaging in a great battle with them. Qin Yishuan, Mo Xiren, and Yun also abandoned their opponents and flew over from behind. They worked together with Batian, fighting as they retreated. Gentian's group did not stop at all. After being tossed away by Batian, they immediately adjusted their direction and flew towards the territory of the Poseidon Hall at full speed. In just a few seconds, they had traveled several 100,000 kilometers. We can't let them escape. The 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall and the 3 disciplinary elders called out together. At that moment, the 7 of them actually reached an extremely rare agreement. They first used their full strength to repel Batian's group before launching a powerful attack at Gentian's group that was about to disappear into the horizon. 4 serpent dragons and 3 vicious beasts shot through the air, flying towards Gentian's group with great speed. The energy of the 7 vicious beasts had completely locked onto their presences. No matter how they changed directions, they were unable to shake them off. "We're in trouble now." Batian's face became ugly. The powerful attack from the 7 of them moved extremely quickly, completely surpassing his speed. Even if he wanted to stop them, he did not have the ability to do so. Noticing the 7 vicious beasts completely condensed from energy, Gentian's group of 3 became ugly as well. Even Gentian was not confident that he could survive the powerful attack from 7 Holy Emperor experts at the 5th heavenly layer. "We can't take it on head-on, or we'll lose a layer of skin even if we don't die. We won't be able to escape at all." Gentian's mind raced. Soon after, he gritted his teeth and a golden streak of light immediately shot out from his forehead. He had used the Saint artifact. At that moment, Gentian no longer cared about hiding the Saint artifact. The powerful attack from 7 Holy Emperor experts at the 5th heavenly layer was incomparable to 2 Holy Emperors at the 3rd heavenly layer. If it were 2 Holy Emperors at the 3rd heavenly layer, Gentian could take the risk to block it. However, Gentian did not dare to attempt the attack from 7 Holy Emperors at the 5th heavenly layer. "Don't resist." Gentian hurriedly sent a secret message to the evil king. Afterward, with a flash of light, the 3 of them vanished. They had been sucked into the artifact space. Just as Gentian's group of 3 entered the artifact space, the powerful attack from the 4 divine generals and 3 disciplinary elders arrived as well. They viciously collided with the Saint artifact, producing a deafening boom. The Saint artifact did not possess any offensive power, but its defensive power was unquestionable. Apart from experts, at the Holy Emperor level, no one could harm it at all. The Saint artifact had managed to endure the powerful attack from the 7 experts from the 2 halls, failing to harm Gentian's group of 3 at all. Instead, the Saint artifact borrowed the momentum to fly them away even faster. What kind of treasure is that? Not only can it store living people, but it can also endure the attacks from the 7 of us without being destroyed. The eyes of one of the disciplinary elders from the heavens' spirit hall lit up as he stared at the shining Saint artifact.